welcome to Tales in the Dark. I know many of you enjoy relaxing with these videos, so I recommend turning down the volume until my voice is barely audible. It'll make the experience even more soothing. Before you close your eyes, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of viewers aren't subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it's an enormous support for us to keep creating these relaxing stories. Thank you and enjoy listening. Story 1. The office was enveloped in a profound silence, broken only by the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock. Its echoes reverberated off the mahogany walls, creating a soothing backdrop to the pitter-patter of rain against the windows. Richard Mason stood still, his figure reflected ghostly in the rain-kissed glass of the ornate desk before him. The weight of triumph hung heavy on his shoulders, yet it paled in comparison to the eerie stillness that had settled since the announcement. His fingers delicately traced the edge of a leather-bound journal that lay before him, its pages exuding a warmth as if recently caressed. A name, his name, elegantly scripted in silver, adorned the cover, a mystery in itself. Beside the journal lay his meticulously crafted victory speech, now seeming hollow amidst the peculiar quiet of the evening. As the rain intensified, drawing intricate patterns on the windows, shapes seemed to materialize and dissolve before his eyes, playing tricks on his mind. The warm glow of the desk lamp failed to pierce the shadows that lingered in the room's corners like silent spectators. A soft breeze whispered through the air, though the windows remained shut tight. His victory speech lay forgotten as the journal opened on its own, revealing blank pages that seemed to absorb the lamplight. Intrigued, Mason drew closer, compelled by an unseen force. Ink materialized on the paper, forming words in a script unfamiliar to him. The price of power is not measured in dollars or votes. The words faded as quickly as they appeared, leaving a faint trace of their existence. Startled, Mason reached for his phone to capture the phenomenon, only to find the screen unresponsive to his touch. The grandfather clock continued its silent march, its hands moving soundlessly, measuring time in a realm of quiet. A flicker of movement in the window's reflection caught his eye. The American flag fluttered in the still air, its stars rearranging themselves in patterns that seemed to tease recognition. But as he turned to face it directly, the flag hung motionless, its stars ordinary in the dim light. His victory had been a triumph beyond belief, defying all odds and expectations. Yet now, in this hushed room with the enigmatic journal and the silent clock, doubt seeped in like a creeping fog. Recollections of odd occurrences during the campaign flooded his mind. A mysterious benefactor whose face eluded memory, dreams of endless corridors, and hushed conversations abruptly ceasing upon his entry. What he once dismissed as fatigue-induced hallucinations now wove a tapestry of intrigue, pieces fitting together like a puzzle he had avoided solving. The room's atmosphere grew charged with anticipation, as if waiting for a revelation. The journal's pages filled with flowing script that vanished before he could decipher it, leaving behind only fragments: chosen, vessel, purpose. Each word pulsed with a subtle light before fading into oblivion. The air thickened, pregnant with an unspoken truth. Mason's reflection in the window seemed altered, a subtle shift in movement or expression that eluded definition. From his pocket, he retrieved an antique watch gifted by the enigmatic benefactor. Its face bore shifting symbols that hinted at cryptic meanings just beyond reach. The grandfather clock chimed, its tone transformed into a melodic hum that resonated deep within him. Pages turned in the journal, revealing a photograph of his victory speech. Yet lurking in the shadows behind him stood enigmatic figures in dark suits, their features obscured by shadows or absence itself. A scene fresh in his memory, yet these observers remained a mystery. The photograph faded, revealing unsettling details, distorted shadows, elongated hands, an eerie uniformity in their stance. Outside, rain fell upwards, defying gravity in a mesmerizing display. The flag's stars danced in a constellation evoking buried memories and unsettling dreams. Though the journal's pages remained blank, unseen messages seemed to form beneath his touch, like whispers in a forgotten tongue. His victory, silent and surreal, had left a vacuum of sound and celebration. The once boisterous campaign had dissolved into a silent submission, opponents conceding with vacant gazes. The silence expanded, engulfing him in its stifling embrace. Seated in his chair, the leather now cold against his skin, Mason felt the watch's ticking merge with the grandfather clock's heartbeat, weaving intricate patterns in his mind. What had he truly won, and at what cost? The journal's final page bore a single line: "Welcome to the true seat of power." Shadows in the room deepened, not menacingly, but with a patient expectancy of long-awaited arrival. The rain ceased, or perhaps it had never fallen. His reflection observed him serenely, the flag's stars poised to rearrange in their eternal dance. As night descended, a realization dawned on Mason. His victory was but a prelude to a deeper game, orchestrated by forces ancient and unseen. Guided by shadows that whispered of centuries-old secrets, he delved into the journal, its pages a tapestry of names and destinies entwined with his own. The lamp dimmed, yet he no longer feared the encroaching darkness. Familiarity settled in, a comfort found in the shadow's embrace. He felt their gaze not as a threat but a guidance, ushering him into a realm of power beyond mortal comprehension. The watch ticked on, not measuring time but decisions, consequences, and the weight of his newfound role. Amidst the deepening night, Richard Mason embarked on an education in the clandestine nature of power. The grandfather clock told midnight, its echoes a chorus of whispered revelations. Shadows encircled him, not to intimidate but to welcome, to initiate him into the silent symphony of governance. Beyond the office window, the city slumbered, unaware of the clandestine transformation transpiring within those walls. Mason sat, enveloped in the darkness, his reflection a silent sentinel. The journal closed, its secrets veiled once more, while the watch continued its eternal vigil, ticking away the moments that shaped destinies. In the profound stillness of the night, Richard Mason embraced his silent victory as a prelude to a destiny written in shadows and whispered truths. The office remained a sanctuary of mysteries, where the past mingled with the present, and the price of power lay not in overt actions, but in the enigmatic dance of unseen forces. Story 2. The gentle patter of autumn rain kissed my office window as I immersed myself in my study. On nights like this, time seemed to slow, cocooned in a symphony of raindrops that lulled the world into a tranquil state. The soft glow from my desk lamp bathed the yellowed pages of ancient manuscripts, each one a piece of history destined for the city's archives. It was in these quiet moments that she made her first appearance. A solitary figure emerged, crossing the square beneath a vibrant scarlet umbrella, a vivid contrast against the muted hues of autumn. There was a peculiar grace to her movements, a rhythmic dance that harmonized with the falling raindrops. Every evening, like clockwork, the woman with the red umbrella graced the square with her presence. Her passage became a ritual, a moment of anticipation tinged with intrigue. I could never quite catch a glimpse of her face, shrouded beneath the umbrella in the misty veil of rain. But one night, as she paused in the center of the square, a fleeting glance in my direction sent my heart aflutter. In that brief instant, I thought I saw a hint of a smile on her ethereal visage, illuminated by the soft glow of the streetlights before she vanished into the night. As days passed, subtle disturbances began to unfold. Water stains appeared on the documents I handled, as if touched by rain-dampened fingers. The delicate aroma of antique roses wafted through the study, lingering long after dusk had fallen. Then one evening, an old photograph materialized on my desk, a relic from the past depicting the square 50 years prior. Among the crowd, a figure with a red umbrella stood out, a splash of color frozen in time. The back of the photograph bore a date, October 15, 1973. Delving into the archives, I unraveled the tale of Sarah Thompson, a young librarian who had once walked the same halls decades ago. Her red umbrella and love for ancient tomes were etched in history. Her life tragically cut short in that very square on a rainy night, much like the present. As I delved deeper into Sarah's story, the scent of roses grew more potent. The rain outside seemed to morph into a melodic hum, a forgotten lullaby whispered in the breeze. The pages of the manuscripts fluttered as if brushed by unseen hands, and when I looked up, she was there, closer than ever before. The red umbrella lay folded, revealing her gentle countenance. Her eyes held kindness, her smile a tranquil acknowledgement. In that moment, I felt not fear but a profound sense of melancholy and connection. After that poignant encounter, the woman with the red umbrella ceased her nightly crossings of the square. Yet, on rainy evenings when the archive lay hushed, I could still sense the echo of her footsteps and the lingering fragrance of antique roses. Occasionally, while perusing old documents, I would find fresh droplets of water on the pages, as if a phantom hand had just grazed them with rain-kissed fingertips. I often pondered if Sarah still safeguarded her beloved books, if her spirit wandered in the rain with her red umbrella in tow. This tale remains my cherished secret, shared solely between me and the shadows of the library. And when the rain whispers against the windows, I cannot help but smile, knowing that somewhere amidst the folds of time, a woman with a red umbrella continues her eternal journey. Story 3. The night lay still, cloaked in a delicate mist that swirled through the air like a sheer veil dancing in a forgotten waltz. Nestled in my cherished armchair, a rich burgundy velvet piece beside the grand antique mirror, I delved into the pages of a book under the gentle glow of a vintage lamp. The rhythmic ticking of the pendulum clock echoed through the room, casting a hypnotic spell, while the crackling warmth of the fireplace embraced me in a cocoon of comfort. It was amidst this serene moment that a peculiar sensation crept into my awareness. Initially, it was merely a fleeting whisper, akin to catching a glimpse of movement in the corner of one's eye. Lifting my gaze from the book, I beheld my reflection in the ancient mirror. The golden frame, adorned with intricate floral motifs, faintly shimmered in the flickering firelight. Yet as I scrutinized my mirrored self, a subtle chill ran down my spine. Something felt amiss, imperceptibly askew. Tilting my head ever so slightly, I noticed a peculiar lag in my reflection's response, as if it strived to mimic rather than mirror my actions naturally. I endeavored to dismiss it as fatigue or the capricious interplay of shadows cast by the flickering flames. However, the more I observed, the more a disquieting realization dawned upon me. When I raised my right hand, the reflection mirrored with a fraction of delay. A smile tugged at my lips, and the mirrored visage followed suit with a barely perceptible pause. The crackling of wood in the fireplace now assumed a sinister undertone, as though attempting to convey a message. The room's atmosphere thickened, laden with a subtle tension that urged me to breathe in measured cadence. The scent of candle wax intertwined with an ancient aroma, redolent of forgotten tomes and faded reminiscences. With deliberate languor, I rose from the armchair. My reflection mimicked my movements, yet with an unnatural fluidity, as if performing a choreographed dance instead of mirroring my spontaneous gestures. The reflected eyes seemed to gaze into unfathomable depths, harboring secrets best left undiscovered. Drawing nearer to the mirror, I discerned further disquieting anomalies. The reflected room bore slight discrepancies from reality, books on shelves rearranged, unfamiliar objects strewn about. An aged framed photograph depicting a serene seascape in my room, transformed in the reflection into a blurred countenance that appeared to fixate upon me. The pendulum of the clock maintained its relentless sway, though in the reflection, its oscillation appeared sluggish, as if time flowed at a different pace beyond the looking glass. Shadows cast by the fireplace cavorted upon the walls, morphing into shapes hinting at silent watchers. Tentatively, I reached out to touch the cool surface of the mirror, and my reflection extended a hand in a seemingly beckoning gesture. Our fingertips met upon the icy glass, and while I perceived the chill of the crystal, the expression on my mirrored counterpart conveyed a wholly distinct sensation. Stepping back, I watched as the reflection hesitated momentarily, as though contemplating whether to follow my retreat. When it eventually moved, its actions grew increasingly autonomous, as if gradually asserting its own volition. Retrieving an ancient velvet cloth from a drawer, I veiled the mirror in a swift, decisive motion. Yet, as the fabric descended over the reflective surface, I could have sworn a cryptic smile ghosted across the countenance of my mirrored self, a smile foreign to my own features. Since that fateful night, the mirror remains shrouded, concealed from view. At times, in the hush of the darkest hours, faint sounds seem to emanate from behind the velvet drape, as if an unseen presence treads a parallel realm identical to my own. And in moments of profound tranquility, when the house is steeped in profound silence, I ponder whether that reflection lingers still, waiting, leading a mirrored existence parallel to mine in a realm of glass and silver. The veracity of what unfolded that night eludes me, obscured in the mists of uncertainty. Yet each time I pass by a looking glass, a lingering doubt nags at me, whether the reflection gazing back is truly my own, or if it embodies something that has mastered the art of imitation to such perfection that it blurs the line between reflection and reality. Story 4. In the realm of my awakening, a weighty sensation envelops me, akin to a leaden shroud. The room is bathed in a gentle luminescence, a pearlescent glow that emanates from an unknown origin. The walls possess an elusive hue, shifting shades each time my gaze falters. The ceiling looms high above, surpassing the typical height of a bedroom, vanishing into a velvety darkness reminiscent of a starless midnight sky. Nestled upon a bed of exceptional softness, the silk sheets whisper against my skin with a captivating rustle as I shift. A fragrance lingers in the air, sweet and redolent of familiarity, evoking elusive memories that evade my grasp. Perhaps it is the essence of lavender, or perchance vanilla, yet whenever I seek to discern its true nature, it morphs into a new scent. Here, time meanders in peculiar currents. Shadows elongate and retract with a lifelike rhythm, dancing upon the walls in a hypnotic cadence. The silence, though seemingly absolute, harbors a subtle undercurrent, a distant murmur akin to the deep slumber of another, or perchance the reverberation of my own heartbeat within the vast expanse. Emerging from the bed, my bare feet sink into a plush carpet akin to walking upon billowing clouds. The room is sparsely adorned, featuring an antiquated dark wood desk, a burgundy velvet armchair, and an oval mirror adorned with a gilded frame. The mirror remains persistently misted, as though veiled by steam from a recent shower, yet no bathroom lies within view. Drawn to the desk, my eyes alight upon an array of ever-changing objects. Today, a weathered leather-bound diary, a fountain pen brimming with midnight blue ink, and a cup of tea exuding a gentle wisp of steam. The tea retains its warmth, though I harbor no recollection of its preparation. The pages of the diary lie blank, yet beneath my fingertips, I discern faint impressions of words as if inscribed in invisible ink. The inviting armchair bids me to recline, and I acquiesce. The velvet exudes a residual warmth as though recently vacated. From this vantage point, a peculiar anomaly captures my attention, a subtle pulsing within the wall before me, akin to the rhythmic rise and fall of slumbering breaths. Intrigued, I rise to investigate further, only to find the wall solid and motionless upon closer inspection. Seeking an exit, my hands roam the walls in search of a concealed door, tracing every imperfection and crevice. Occasionally, the semblance of a handle teases my touch, dissipating like mist at dawn upon my grasp. The misted mirror beckons me. Through its obscured surface, a distorted reflection of my form materializes, bearing an uncanny delay in mimicking my movements. At times, when the haze momentarily clears, I catch glimpses of another figure gazing back at me through the looking glass. Time ebbs and flows erratically, the light within the room shifting in a rhythm divorced from the passage of day and night. Moments stretch into what feels like hours as I peruse the diary from the comfort of the armchair, only to find the room transformed upon my return to the bed. Reclining once more, I fixate upon the infinite expanse of the ceiling above. The sheets envelop me, exhibiting a lifelike caress that cradles me in a cocoon of comfort. The fragrance in the air intensifies, evoking memories of my grandmother's perfume, the aroma of freshly baked cookies, or the petrichor of rain upon a summer meadow. With a sigh, I close my eyes, aware that upon opening them, the cycle shall commence anew. The room ensnares me in its ethereal grip, ensconcing me within a liminal realm betwixt dream and reality, where time coils upon itself akin to a Mobius strip. Uncertain whether I dream the room or the room dreams me, I surrender once more to the embrace of slumber. A fragment of my consciousness ponders the existence of an escape, or whether indeed I harbor a latent desire to remain ensconced within this enigmatic space. The room has melded with my essence, or perchance I have forever been intertwined with the room, caught in an eternal cycle of waking and dreaming, where the boundaries separating reality from imagination blur like hues upon a freshly painted canvas. Story 5. The rain of November softly tapped against the windows of Grandma Rose's attic, crafting a natural lullaby that always brought me a serene tranquility. Returning there after many years following her passing, I delved into the task of sorting through her belongings. The scent of aged wood and weathered books lingered in the air, while the fading light of twilight seeped through the half-shut shutters, casting playful shadows upon the vintage wallpapered walls. Nestled in a corner, beneath a fine layer of dust, I stumbled upon Grandma's old brass record player, a cherished relic she had always kept gleaming like a mirror. An artifact from another era, adorned with intricate floral patterns on its mechanical arm and a turntable that remained impeccably preserved. Beside it, a collection of vinyl records meticulously organized in time-worn cardboard sleeves. Amongst the array of records, my hand paused on one in particular. Its cover was a pure white, devoid of any title or author, save for a delicate golden border that shimmered in the dim light. Although unfamiliar, I felt an inexplicable draw towards it. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, I resolved to listen. The record player sprang to life with a faint, familiar hum. Placing the record upon the turntable and lowering the arm, I was met with the signature crackle of vinyl before the music commenced. A melody entirely foreign to my ears unfolded. A waltz performed on the piano, yet there was an enigmatic quality to the way the notes intertwined. The music seemed to shift subtly with each revolution of the record, as if the notes were rearranging themselves into novel harmonies. I closed my eyes, surrendering to the spell of that peculiar composition. Amidst the music, I fancied the scent of jasmine, Grandma Rose's beloved flower, though it was midwinter, an impossibility. Upon reopening my eyes, I observed the shadows in the room moving in a different cadence, no longer dictated by the natural progression of twilight, but swaying to the rhythm of that mysterious tune. Before me, on the wall, a figure's shadow danced distinctly, despite my solitude in the room. The waltz persisted, and within the piano notes, I discerned a soft laughter that resonated familiarly. It was Grandma Rose's laughter, unmistakable as I had always known it. A shiver coursed through me, not of fear, but of a peculiar blend of nostalgia and awe. Rising from the armchair, I approached the window. In its reflection, I glimpsed the room behind me, and for an instant, I thought I saw Grandma Rose, youthful and resplendent in her favored dance attire, twirling in the heart of the attic. Yet upon turning around, she was absent. The record played on until its final note dissolved into silence, and the room seemed altered. Cozier, more vibrant, as if that fleeting musical interlude had roused dormant memories within the very walls of the house. That night, as I returned the enigmatic record to its white sleeve, I noticed a detail previously overlooked. Along the inner edge, inscribed in Grandma Rose's graceful script, was a date, her wedding day. Below, in nearly imperceptible letters, a message read, "Music is the key to our most cherished memories." Since then, on each visit to the attic, I seek out that specific record. Sometimes it reveals itself readily, while on other occasions, it seems to conceal itself among the other vinyls. And with every listen, the melody varies slightly, as if harboring endless permutations of the same memory. I have never deciphered whether it was a unique gift for Grandma Rose or something more cryptic. Yet one truth remains evident. On those rainy evenings when the record player spins that enigmatic melody, the attic brims with a subtle enchantment, and for a fleeting moment, the boundary between present and past, reality and memory, thins to the fragility of an aged photograph. Perhaps during those interludes, Grandma Rose dances still, forever youthful, forever jubilant, in an eternal waltz. Story 6. In the hush of the night, my footsteps whispered through the ancient wooden corridor. Each creak of the floorboards harmonized with the gentle rain tapping against the window panes. A sweet fragrance lingered in the air, a blend of aged wood and yellowed paper that filled my senses. I halted before the door at the hallway's end, a door I had kept locked away for months. The brass lock glistened faintly in the soft glow of the wall sconces, beckoning me with a subtle allure. I vividly recalled securing it last, the familiar routine of turning the key thrice and testing the handle. It was a ritual that brought me comfort. Yet, on this particular evening, a subtle shift had taken place. An icy chill enveloped the space around the door, and a delicate layer of dust had settled on the brass handle, forming intricate patterns that caught my eye. Drawing closer, I observed the dust arranged in concentric circles, as though an unseen hand had traced them. The door's surface emitted a faint warmth, a sensation I could only detect by pressing my palm against it. A peculiar occurrence, considering the room had remained sealed and devoid of any source of heat. Leaning in, I strained to listen intently. Amidst the profound stillness, a distant sound tiptoed into my awareness, akin to the soft breaths of one in slumber. Retrieving the key from my robe's pocket, I noted its uncharacteristic warmth against my skin. With deliberate care, I inserted it into the lock, aiming to minimize any noise. The key slid in smoothly, yet upon attempting to turn it, a resistance met me. It felt as though the lock had been tampered with from within. My heart quickened its pace within my chest, not out of fear but rather a blend of curiosity and anticipation, akin to the brink of a significant revelation. Trying the opposite direction, the key yielded effortlessly with a delicate click. Upon swinging open the door, a waft of warm, fragrant air embraced me, reminiscent of freshly brewed vanilla tea. Moonbeams filtered through sheer curtains, casting a silvery luminescence upon the room. Familiar yet altered, the space unfolded before me. Books on the shelves appeared rearranged, forming intricate designs previously unseen. The antique armchair had shifted slightly towards the window, beside it an empty porcelain cup that I had no recollection of placing. Approaching the mahogany desk, my fingertips traced the unevenly dispersed dust, as if phantom words had been inscribed and then erased. Beside the inkwell lay a weathered sheet of paper bearing a solitary sentence scripted in a handwriting mirroring my own, though unfamiliar to my memory. The words read, "Time flows differently here." As I absorbed the message, I sensed my breath synchronize with the gentle billowing of the curtains, devoid of any breeze. The room's silence pulsed, alive with a myriad of murmurs too faint to decipher. Nestling into the plush velvet of the armchair, I caught a reflection of the room in the window's glass. Fleetingly, a blurred figure seemed to move in the shadows behind me, yet upon turning, only the moon's radiance danced upon the walls. A moment of solace enveloped me as I shut my eyes briefly, immersing in the tranquility. Upon reopening them, a subtle shift had occurred within the room. Every object appeared minutely displaced. The once cold cup now emanated warmth, a wisp of steam ascending towards the ceiling. Rising from the armchair, I bore the weight of the enigma surrounding me. Soundlessly, I treaded towards the door, the wooden floor beneath me betraying no echo. Pausing at the threshold, I cast a final glance over my shoulder. The room exhaled softly, akin to a slumbering entity. Gently I shut the door, the click of the lock resonating like a lullaby in the silent expanse. Since that fateful night, a faint aroma of vanilla tea lingers whenever I pass by, accompanied by the rustle of pages turned by unseen hands. Though the door remains unopened, I sense the room harboring its clandestine existence, safeguarding mysteries best left undisturbed in the realm of silence. Story 7. In the hush of night, the house was swathed in a serene stillness as the wind murmured softly through the leaves of the ancient tree in the garden. Nestled in the armchair of my bedroom, I gazed as shadows waltzed on the walls, swayed by the flickering lamplight. It was that bewitching hour when slumber's embrace beckoned, yet a peculiar resistance to Morpheus's call had taken root within me of late. A nightly visitor had made itself known in my dreams, a persistent specter of mystery and allure. Each night, without fail, the same dream unfolded with eerie precision. The room's warmth and the steady tick-tock of the old pendulum clock conspired to lull me into a dream-laden state. My eyes alighted upon the open diary on the desk, its pages brimming with my meticulous accounts of the recurring enigma that haunted my sleep. In my neat script, I chronicled the unchanging sequence of events. A spiraling staircase of gray stone delving into unfathomable depths, the haunting echo of water droplets in the distance, and a grand wooden door adorned with cryptic symbols. Leafing through the diary's pages, a detail previously unnoticed seized my attention. With each descent down the staircase in my dreams, the chill in the air intensified gradually. My fingers grazed the icy stone, breath billowing in wisps of vapor. Yet what set this dream apart was the uncanny sense of familiarity that accompanied me, as though the staircase led to a place ingrained in my very being, though unvisited in waking life. The door at the staircase's base remained resolutely shut, tantalizingly adorned with symbols that seemed to dance and shift under scrutiny, as if imbued with life. Night after night, my dream self drew closer to deciphering the enigmatic carvings on the door. The symbols beckoned, their fluid shapes teasing my understanding, each touch eliciting a subtle quiver from the ancient wood, as if it pulsated with a hidden energy. As I readied myself for slumber that evening, an unfamiliar object caught my eye in the room. Nestled beside the lamp on the nightstand lay an ancient bronze key, its intricate design oddly reminiscent of the symbols adorning the dream door. Curiosity piqued. I grasped the key, its weight and chill grounding me in the realm of wakefulness. How it had materialized there eluded me, yet its presence felt as natural as the breath in my lungs. Drifting into sleep, a sense of anticipation tingled in the air. The dream unfurled as expected, the spiral staircase, the echoing drops, the biting cold pervading the air. But this night held a departure from the familiar script. When I stood before the door, the key in my grasp thrummed faintly, harmonizing with the etchings on the wood. With trepidation, I inserted the key into a hidden lock, heart drumming in rhythm with the ancient mechanism. As the key turned, a melodic cadence filled the air, a forgotten tune from ages past. The door creaked open, unveiling not a chamber but a mirror, reflecting the staircase behind me. Yet in the mirror's depths, the steps ascended rather than descended. Startled awake in the dawn's gentle light, the key remained clutched in my hand, now pulsing with a warmth that seemed almost alive. Upon the open diary on the desk lay a new page, inscribed not in my hand. The characters resembled the enigmatic symbols, shifting and undulating like waves in a sea of ink. Since that enigmatic night, the dream has not revisited me. The key rests on the nightstand, its faint vibrations a silent reminder of the surreal journey. In the quiet of nights, I ponder the secrets that lie at the summit of that mirrored staircase, wondering if courage will one day propel me to ascend. For now, I am content to watch the symbols in the diary dance in the shadows, spinning a tale that perhaps I am not yet prepared to unravel. Story 8. The winter twilight draped my bedroom walls in shades of purple, as a gentle rain tapped against the windows in a soothing, hypnotic melody. On my antique vanity mirror, passed down from my grandmother, flickering shadows cast by a lone candle flickered against encroaching darkness. The fragrance of melting wax intertwined with the earthy aroma of crackling firewood downstairs, enveloping me in a warm and inviting embrace. In that tranquil moment of contemplation, a peculiar sight caught my eye. While tending to my hair before the mirror, I caught a glimpse of a tall, slender figure moving behind me, a spectral presence gliding through the air. Instinctively I turned, only to find the room void of any such entity. Returning my gaze to the mirror, I reassured myself it was merely a trick of light and shadow. In the days that followed, I found myself drawn to the reflections surrounding me. The polished sheen of a freshly cleaned wooden table, the window glass at dusk, even the tiny rearview mirror in my car, all seemed to capture fleeting glimpses of that enigmatic presence. It was as though a parallel realm existed within reflections, where this silent figure observed me with serene curiosity. Devoid of distinct features, the figure exuded a soft, silvery luminescence, almost ethereal in nature. At times, a faint smile seemed to grace its form, while other instances hinted at subtle gestures, as if attempting to convey a message. No fear gripped me, but rather a sense of uncanny familiarity, as if this presence had always been a part of my existence, only now revealing itself to me. One hushed evening, engrossed in a book in my beloved armchair, the figure in the window's reflection appeared unusually clear. Instead of vanishing upon direct observation, it lingered, maintaining its ethereal presence. Amidst the quietude of the room, a gentle rustle, akin to silk stirred by a phantom breeze, reached my ears, though no wind blew. Rising slowly, I approached the window, and to my astonishment, the figure mirrored my movements from the other side of the glass. Details began to emerge. Draped in flowing, airy garments, its movements possessed an ethereal grace, akin to a dance upon the very air. Extending a hand toward me, I found myself mirroring the action almost instinctually. In that moment, a profound realization washed over me. With each appearance of this figure, a profound tranquility descended upon the room. Sounds dulled, colors softened, and time itself seemed to elongate. It was as though this presence carried with it a fragment of a more serene realm, where the boundaries between wakefulness and reverie blurred. Deliberately seeking out reflections, no longer driven by fear or curiosity, I yearned to rediscover the serenity that accompanied the figure. I noticed its presence heightened during moments of stillness, when my mind was unburdened by worry or strife. It was as if this enigmatic entity possessed an innate understanding of when I required its calming influence. As days turned into weeks, the figure within Reflections became a silent companion in my daily life. I refrained from delving into its true essence or the purpose behind its presence, acknowledging that certain enigmas need not be unraveled. Sometimes, the mystery itself holds more value than any explanation. Even now, as the golden hues of sunset filter through the windows and shadows elongate across the walls, I pause to observe the reflections that surround me. In those tranquil moments when the world seems to hold its breath, I catch sight of it, a radiant figure dancing amidst the reflections, ushering forth a profound sense of peace and serving as a gentle reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved. Story 9. The old grandfather clock in my study chimed midnight with a deep, familiar resonance, its echoes drifting through the stillness like gentle ripples on a pond. I sat in my worn leather armchair, a book resting on my lap, listening to the soft patter of rain against the windows. The house creaked softly, its aged wooden frame settling into the night's embrace. My gaze wandered to the hallway door, illuminated by the warm glow of my reading lamp. Tonight, something about it felt different, though I couldn't quite pinpoint the change. Perhaps the brass handle gleamed in an unusual way, or maybe the wood's grain appeared altered. Despite living in this house for 15 years, the door now seemed foreign to me. Standing up, I marked my place in the book with a silk ribbon and ventured towards the door. The floor was cool beneath my slippers, sending a shiver up my spine as I drew closer. The air around the door grew colder, as if a touch of winter had crept into that corner of the house. When my fingers brushed the handle, it surprised me with its warmth, a stark contrast to the chilly atmosphere. Opening the door, the hallway beyond looked unchanged. The faded wallpaper, the worn carpet, the familiar framed photographs adorning the walls. Closing the door, I dismissed my unease as mere imagination, likely fueled by the mysteries I had been reading. That night, my dreams were filled with doors. They materialized in improbable places, gardens, skies, deserted beaches, each bearing the same warm brass handle. Morning arrived, and I carried on with my day, barely sparing a glance for the hallway door. It wasn't until evening approached that I noticed a peculiar alteration. The door appeared lighter, as if aged by decades overnight. The brass handle had acquired a patina that hadn't been there before. Examining it closely, I observed the wood's unfamiliar grain pattern, and the hinges transformed to a burnished copper hue. Night after night, the door underwent subtle changes. Sometimes it aged, other times it seemed new. The handle shifted, the frame acquired intricate carvings, yet the hallway always remained the same. I began keeping a journal, meticulously recording each transformation. The door never changed while I watched. It was during the deepest hours of night, when the house was silent and my attention elsewhere, that the alterations occurred. One evening, determined to unravel the mystery, I stayed awake to observe the door. Facing it directly in my armchair, I brewed strong tea and waited. As the hours passed, the grandfather clock's ticking filled the room. At 3:17 a.m., the lights flickered, and in that fleeting darkness, the door transformed once more. The warm oak turned to rich mahogany, silver inlays dancing across its surface. Intrigued, I reached for the crystal handle, but hesitated, sensing a subtle vibration in the air. Noticing the absence of a keyhole, a detail I was certain had existed before, I delved into my journal for answers but found none. The question lingered, elusive yet insistent. Each evening now, as I sit in my study, I ponder the door's enigmatic changes. Sometimes I glimpse other hallways through the gap below, each with different decor. Yet upon opening the door, it's always my hallway that greets me. The thought of rearranging the photographs crosses my mind, but a silent warning holds me back, cautioning against delving too deeply into the unknown. The door continues to evolve, each night offering a new variation. I've grown accustomed to its quiet transformations, even finding a strange comfort in them. Perhaps it's not the door changing, but my perception of it shifting with each glance. Maybe both are true, or perhaps neither. What remains certain is the anticipation that fills me as midnight approaches, eager to unveil the new form the door will take and the secrets it may choose to reveal or conceal in the tranquil hours before dawn. Story 10. The autumn breeze whispered through the trees, creating a harmonious symphony that intertwined with the hushed hum of the crowd surrounding me. Perched on my cherished bench in the park, I observed the steady stream of passers-by strolling along the paved pathways. The air held a crispness, carrying the essence of moist earth and damp wood. Though I held a book in hand, my focus was captured by a subtle, nearly imperceptible feeling that had lingered with me for days. It all began with a whisper. One morning, on my way to work, a tingling sensation crept along my neck, as if unseen eyes were fixed upon me. I glanced around, but saw only the usual rush of commuters hurrying towards their destinations. In the following days, that sensation grew more persistent, more palpable. During lunch breaks, grocery runs, and even while seated at my favorite cafe, the crowd continued to flow past my bench, some solo, others in pairs. A woman in a scarlet coat paused to glance at her phone. An elderly gentleman ambled by with a polished wooden cane. Yet, amidst the sea of familiar faces, I sensed a shift. Something undefined, something elusive. Closing my book, I rose from the bench, opting for a leisurely stroll. The sky transitioned to shades of amber, while street lamps flickered to life one by one. The feeling lingered, akin to an invisible shadow trailing me at a steady distance. Pausing before a storefront, feigning interest in the displayed wares, I studied the reflections of passers-by in the glass. And there it was, a face within the throng, a constant presence, indiscernible, slipping between bodies with a natural fluidity. Resuming my walk, now more attuned to my surroundings, I turned down side streets, then another. The crowd thinned, yet the presence endured. Seated on a bench in a tranquil square, encircled by illuminated windows of aged buildings, the chill of evening permeated the air with the first stars twinkling above. It dawned on me then, it wasn't a solitary gaze tracking me, but many. A multitude of eyes, passing the baton in a wordless, choreographed ballet. Some faces reappeared more frequently. A young woman in a blue scarf, a bespectacled middle-aged man, a boy with a backpack. Rising slowly, I made my way home, the weight of those gazes palpable upon my back. The streets were nearly deserted, yet the sensation only heightened in the nocturnal stillness. Settling by the window in my apartment, observing the street below, the procession of pedestrians continued, some pausing briefly, others continuing their journey. I pondered how many were truly en route to a destination, and how many were players in this enigmatic performance, of which I unwittingly found myself at the center. Most unsettling was the utter normalcy of these individuals, blending seamlessly with the crowd. As the city lights flickered to life, I contemplated the enigma of this silent surveillance. Who were they? What sought they? And above all, why me? Questions suspended in the air as night descended, shrouding the city in its dusky cloak. Since then, I've acclimated to this newfound awareness. At times I endeavor to discern my watchers, while in others I feign ignorance. Yet, they persist, like shadows flitting at the periphery of my existence. In the hush of night, as I gaze from my window at the dwindling streets below, I wonder if they too contemplate me, concealed within their abodes, preparing for another day of this enigmatic waltz of gazes and apparitions. Story 11. The Rain's Reflection. The gentle symphony of raindrops tapping against my window had become a familiar melody that serenaded me through the late hours of the night, keeping me company as I delved into the depths of my writing. Each droplet etched shimmering paths down the glass, painting a fluid masterpiece of light and shadow. The soft, warm glow of my desk lamp enveloped me in a soothing embrace of amber light, while the rest of the room cradled itself in the comforting embrace of darkness. I found solace in watching the raindrops dance, tracing intricate patterns in their meandering journey. Occasionally, when my mind drifted from the task at hand, I would lose myself in imagining tales woven within the crystal-clear trails left behind. But on this particular night, there was a subtle shift in the familiar rhythm of the rain. The water cascaded in peculiar ways, as if choreographed by an unseen force. Initially, I brushed off the anomaly as a mere trick of weary eyes, the gentle lullaby of the rain almost coaxing me into the realm between consciousness and dreams. Yet, as I continued to observe, the enigmatic patterns grew more defined. Droplets avoided certain areas of the glass, delineating dry patches that gradually formed the outline of a figure. My breath caught in my throat as I leaned in closer, peering intently at the window. The reflection not only mirrored the rain, but also captured the dim interior of my room behind me. Within that layered reflection of glass and water, a peculiar realization dawned upon me. My own reflection seemed slightly out of sync, as if moving in a delayed echo to my actions. The gentle cadence of the rain intensified, its melodic whispers enveloping me in a cocoon of tranquility. Mesmerized, I watched as my reflection reached out to touch the glass, a gesture I did not make. The movement flowed with a gracefulness that felt foreign, as though following a rhythm I had yet to learn. A soft warmth spread over my skin, contrasting the coolness of the night near the window. Subtle transformations began to take place in my reflection's visage, blurring the line between the familiar and the unknown. The eyes staring back at me held a profound wisdom, depths that seemed to span beyond time itself. Motionless, I bore witness as my reflection underwent a gentle metamorphosis, transcending gender and age to embody a timeless essence. The rain wove intricate patterns around this enigmatic figure, forming a shimmering frame of flowing silver. I noticed the droplets now moved in perfect circles, defying the laws of gravity with ethereal grace. A momentary flicker in my desk lamp cast a fleeting shadow across the room, and in that transient darkness, I sensed a presence beside me, soft and comforting, like a mother's touch. As the light steadied, my reflection reverted to its mirror image, mirroring my every move with uncanny precision. Yet the rain persisted in its mesmerizing dance of perfect circles, a silent reminder of the extraordinary encounter that had graced me. I sat by the window for hours, captivated by the rain's gentle melody, pondering the mystical encounter I had experienced. The lingering presence of that ethereal visitation hung in the air, akin to the echo of a cherished melody, neither alarming nor intrusive. With the approach of dawn, the rain gradually tapered off, leaving behind a window adorned with mundane water streaks. Since that fateful night, I found myself drawn to the window on rainy evenings, abandoning pen and paper on my desk. In moments when the rain painted a mirror upon the glass, under the perfect conditions, I glimpsed my other self gazing back at me through the silver veil of raindrops. There existed a silent understanding between my reflection and I, a shared knowledge that some mysteries are meant to be embraced rather than unraveled. The rain continued its gentle descent, each droplet carrying the promise of another encounter beyond the confines of ordinary perception. And in those fleeting moments of being both watcher and watched, I mused upon the possibility of another version of myself, seated by their own window in a parallel existence, yearning for a glimpse of my world through the veils of rain. Story 12. The night was wrapped in a cloak of silence, broken only by the rhythmic melody of the train wheels caressing the tracks. I found myself in the final carriage, cocooned in a soft, dim light that hung delicately from the ceiling. The air held a gentle warmth, and the train's steady movement cast a spell of hypnotic tranquility. Outside the window, the mist waltzed lazily in the darkness, shaping ephemeral figures that melted into the night. I believed I was alone in that carriage, but appearances can be deceiving. In the reflection on the window pane, my silhouette intertwined with the shadows outside, conjuring an enigmatic presence on the other side. The comforting hum of the rails whispered ancient tales, a mechanical lullaby enticing me to surrender to sleep. It was in that hushed moment that a peculiar sight caught my eye in the glass. A shadow lingered behind me, a form seated a few rows away. I could recall no one boarding, yet there they sat, a silent companion in the night. The train pressed on, and the wheel's steady cadence murmured forgotten histories. I turned cautiously, careful not to disturb the delicate equilibrium. The carriage basked in an amber glow, casting elongated shadows across the vacant seats. The figure I had glimpsed in the reflection remained still, cloaked in a dark garment, their face obscured beneath the brim of a wide hat, shrouded in mystery. Time seemed to stretch as I regarded that silent voyager. The air grew heavy with whispers of distant memories, not my own. The passenger made no movement, uttered no words, blending seamlessly with the essence of the train itself. Gathering my courage, I rose under the guise of a trip to the rear lavatory. As I drew nearer to the enigmatic figure, I noticed their coat seemed to swallow any hint of light, an abyss of darkness. An icy chill pervaded the air surrounding them, carrying a subtle fragrance of lavender and aged pages. Passing by the seat occupied by this spectral traveler, time faltered for an instant. The familiar sound of the rails faded into a distant echo, as though from another realm. It was then that a disquieting realization dawned upon me. Beneath the cloak, there was no sign of life, no telltale breath. Reaching the end of the carriage, I hesitated, torn between advancing to the next car or retracing my steps. The corridor stretched endlessly, while the dim lights painted mesmerizing patterns on the floor. When I glanced back, the seat once occupied by the mysterious figure stood vacant. Left behind was a weathered train ticket, aged and yellowed. Trembling, I retrieved it, the date imprinted 50 years prior, on that very day. The ticket exuded warmth, as though cradled moments before my own touch. With the relic in hand, I returned to my seat, pondering the surreal encounter. The train forged ahead into the night, the rhythmic song of the wheels a familiar solace. Beyond the misted window, elusive figures seemed to tread alongside the train, companions on its nocturnal odyssey. Drifting into weariness, I contemplated how many others had crossed paths with the enigmatic passenger on the final train of the night. The ticket served as the sole tangible trace of that ethereal meeting, fading like a dream upon waking. The train journeyed on, carrying its enigmatic secrets and spectral passengers. As slumber beckoned, a hint of lavender lingered in the air, accompanied by the faint echo of retreating footsteps down the carriage's corridor. Story 13. The hotel corridor glowed softly in a golden light filtering through amber-tinted glass lampshades. It was the late hour, and the hush of night was pierced only by the gentle hum of air conditioning units. With my suitcase in tow, its wheels whispering on the deep burgundy carpet, I made my way towards the elevator. The weariness of a long day of business meetings clung to my shoulders like a heavy cloak. Pressing the elevator button, I watched my reflection blur in the metallic doors, illuminated by the dim green glow of the ascending numbers, 6, 5, 4. The soft light cast a serene aura on the walls. When the doors slid open, chiming softly, I stepped into the compact space adorned with mirrors and rich dark wood. The elevator would carry me to the top floor, the 7th. I selected my destination and leaned back against the smooth panel, briefly closing my eyes. The elevator glided upward with a seamless, rhythmic motion, its mechanism emitting a gentle, almost imperceptible sound, akin to a deep, steady breath. Upon opening my eyes, a peculiar sight greeted me in the mirror's reflection opposite me. It appeared as though my image moved with a slight delay, trailing my gestures by a fraction of a second. Shaking off the odd sensation as a product of exhaustion, I dismissed it from my mind. The elevator halted smoothly, and the doors parted, releasing me into the corridor. Yet, something felt amiss. The carpet was now a deep forest green, a stark contrast to the burgundy below. The wall lamps had transformed into antique fixtures, boasting an Art Deco elegance that I had failed to notice earlier. Consulting the display, it confirmed my arrival on the 7th floor, yet the atmosphere had shifted entirely. The hallway appeared elongated, constricted, and the air carried a peculiar scent reminiscent of aged books and ancient timber. The room numbers defied convention, bearing labels like 7A, 7B, 7C, rather than the standard numerals I had anticipated. Turning back towards the elevator, I discovered the doors had sealed shut. Pressing the call button yielded no response, the display above dormant as if the elevator had never existed. The silence thickened, almost tangible in its weight. Proceeding cautiously down the corridor, I attempted to reorient myself. The lights seemed to pulsate gently, as if drawing breath. Each door I passed bore a striking resemblance to its predecessor, yet exuded a distinct aura, hinting at untold tales concealed behind their dark facades. At the far end of the hallway, a figure sat regally in an antique armchair. Clad in a period doorman's uniform, his silver hair immaculately styled, he peered up from his book with a knowing smile. "Are you lost?" he inquired in a serene, familiar tone, as though anticipating my arrival. "I believe I am," I responded. "I was bound for the 7th floor, but this is not what I expected." "Ah, but this is the 7th floor," he interjected with a cryptic smile. "Just not the one you sought. You see, this elevator possesses a peculiarity. It transports weary travelers not to where they wish to be, but where they truly need to go." Surveying my surroundings with fresh eyes, I discerned intricate details previously overlooked. The gilded frames adorning the walls housed monochrome photographs of joyous figures in antiquated attire, while the clock's hands traced an impossible path, winding counterclockwise. "Worry not," the doorman reassured, closing his book gently. "The elevator shall return in due course. Meanwhile, why not rest a while? Time is of no consequence here." Settling into the armchair beside him, I felt the weight of exhaustion dissipate gradually. The once unsettling silence now cradled me like a warm embrace. The doorman resumed his reading, and I found myself entranced by the shadows dancing across the walls, weaving hypnotic patterns. The passage of time became a fluid concept, indiscernible in its duration. It could have been mere moments or hours that slipped by. The backward rhythm of the clock lent a soothing cadence, akin to a gentle lullaby. At some indeterminate point, the familiar chime of the elevator resonated through the corridor. "There," the doorman remarked without lifting his gaze from the book. "I believe your path awaits." Rising to my feet, a curious sense of rejuvenation enveloped me. As I made my way back to the elevator, I turned to express my gratitude, only to find the armchair vacant. The book he had been perusing lay atop the armrest, its weathered leather cover gleaming faintly in the ambient light. The elevator doors slid open noiselessly. Stepping inside, the journey proved swift. Upon disembarking, I found myself back in the familiar corridor, with its burgundy carpet and contemporary fixtures. Reaching my room, I inserted the key into the lock. Pausing before entry, I cast a final glance towards the elevator. For a fleeting moment, the digital display flickered, revealing not a number, but an unfamiliar symbol. Then, as swiftly as it had appeared, it reverted to displaying a simple 7. Since that enigmatic night, whenever I board an elevator in a hotel, I ponder whether it will transport me to my desired destination or to where fate deems I belong. And on the stillest of nights, I swear I can almost discern the rustle of ancient pages, turned by unseen hands in a corridor that straddles the realms of reality. Story 14. The quiet sea that night held an unusual serenity. I sat on the veranda of my wooden cottage, enveloped in a cozy woolen blanket, tuning in to the soft rhythm of waves gently caressing the shore. The full moon cast its silvery glow upon the water, painting a shimmering path that beckoned me to venture towards the distant horizon. Amid my tranquil reverie, a peculiar sight captured my attention. A faint green luminescence, almost ethereal, swaying amidst the undulating waves not far from the coastline. With a leisurely grace, I rose from the swaying rocker, its faint creak blending with the soothing melody of the salty breeze. The cool ocean air tenderly brushed against my skin as I descended the weathered steps. Beneath my bare feet, the sand retained its warmth, defying the late hour. Drawing closer to the water's edge, where the tide danced with the land, the greenish glow grew more defined. An antique glass vessel, boasting an elegant, elongated silhouette, enclosing a yellowed parchment within. I gingerly retrieved the bottle. Surprisingly weighty, it bore a salt-encrusted patina, rendering it opaque in patches. The moon's gentle radiance pierced through, casting mesmerizing reflections upon its surface. Its cork stopper sealed with aged black wax, cracked yet steadfast. Returning to the veranda, the soft glow of the oil lamp illuminated my newfound discovery. Placing the bottle upon the weathered table, I settled into my cherished armchair. The symphony of the sea now seemed to whisper with heightened intensity, as if harboring a secret longing to be revealed. With deliberate movements, I commenced the careful removal of the sealing wax. Like ancient ash, the seal disintegrated beneath my touch. The cork stopper emerged remarkably intact, emanating an enigmatic fragrance. A fusion of seaweed, aged ink, and a subtle, indefinable essence permeated the air. Within, a carefully rolled parchment awaited, bound by a faded blue silk ribbon. My hands trembled slightly as I unraveled the knot. Despite its apparent antiquity, the paper proved surprisingly resilient. Unfurled, the sepia-toned ink imbued the text with an ancient allure, rendering some passages nearly illegible. The script danced upon the page, akin to a language known yet elusive in its entirety. The elegant handwriting bore slight distortions, hinting at the author's agitation during its inscription. As my gaze acclimated to the faded script, fragments of phrases began to materialize. Time flows differently here, and the light is never the same. Interwoven with the text, sketches of unfamiliar constellations and lunar phases adorned the parchment. Yet a particular drawing at the page's base seized my attention. A flawless spiral seemingly in subtle motion, evading direct observation. Concurrently, the oil lamp's flicker adopted an uncanny cadence, while shadows upon the veranda undulated in harmony with the waves. The sea's melody shifted, transcending its gentle murmur to a rhythmic whisper akin to an ancient chant in a forgotten tongue. The atmosphere thickened, as if time itself acquiesced to a leisurely pace enveloping me. Amidst the fading light, the latter paragraphs of the message emerged with clarity, as if preserved by the ink's ephemeral resilience. They spoke of a realm where the boundary between dream and reality wavered as delicately as silk, where time cascaded akin to water slipping through clasped fingers. Concluding with a phrase that seized my breath, the message conveyed, "If you are reading these words, it means you too have been chosen. Look at the sea tonight. You'll see it's no longer the same as before." Startled, I glanced up from the parchment. The moon loomed larger, casting an altered, almost geometric reflection upon the water's surface. The bottle on the table emanated the same green radiance that had captivated me earlier, now pulsating with a somnolent rhythm akin to a slumbering heart. Meticulously refolding the message, I nestled it back within the bottle, refraining from resealing it with the cork. Casting my gaze towards the horizon, I pondered whether others had chanced upon similar vessels, sensing the silent allure of the sea. The night progressed in tranquil cadence, yet an indefinable shift had transpired. Whether in the stars' reflection upon the water, or the perceptual alteration within myself, a subtle metamorphosis lingered. Until dawn's embrace, I remained upon the veranda, listening to the sea's whispered secrets. As daylight crept upon the horizon, the bottle's green glow dimmed, fading into obscurity. Uncertain of unraveling the message's full significance, I harbored a profound sense of transformation within. Occasionally, beneath the full moon's luminance, the phantom green glow would dance amidst the waves, beckoning me towards enigmas perhaps best left entwined within the ocean's depths. Story 15. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my study, creating a soothing melody that mingled with the crackling of the fireplace. Nestled in my beloved armchair, I gazed absent-mindedly at the recent addition hanging on the wall, an antique painting portraying an autumn landscape. This painting had caught my eye in a quaint antique shop, drawing me in with its cozy hues and enigmatic aura. The worn golden frame shimmered in the flickering firelight, casting dancing reflections around the room. On that particular evening, as the storm outside intensified, a peculiar occurrence caught my eye within the painting. The painted leaves appeared to stir gently, as if brushed by an unseen breeze. Initially, I attributed it to the play of shadows from the fire, but the longer I observed, the more peculiarities I noticed. The colors seemed richer, more alive than before. The path in the painting, once concealed amidst the trees, now appeared elongated and meandering, as if extending beyond the confines of the canvas. With a sense of intrigue, I rose from my seat and drew closer to the painting. The air surrounding it felt oddly cool, contrasting sharply with the warmth of the fire. Running my fingers lightly over the canvas, I detected a smooth, almost silky texture, unlike the expected roughness of an oil painting. A faint aroma of damp earth and wet leaves wafted from the frame, so realistic that it blurred the line between reality and art. Examining these peculiarities, movement in the upper corner of the painting drew my gaze. Among the branches of an ancient tree, something appeared to shift. It was not a mere trick of light and shadow, but a purposeful motion, as if a hidden presence lurked among the painted foliage. My heart fluttered with curiosity rather than fear. Stepping back, I observed how the brushstrokes within the painting seemed to alter direction independently, forming new pathways and shapes in the landscape. The trees swayed subtly, as if moved by an unseen breeze. In the distance, where fog once obscured the view, the contours of a small structure began to emerge. The rain outside transformed into a gentle whisper, harmonizing with the enigmatic dance unfolding within the painting. Enthralled, I sank back into my armchair, fully engrossed in the unfolding spectacle. The room appeared to expand, the boundaries between art and reality blurring. As the night progressed, the painting continued its gradual metamorphosis. Autumnal hues intensified and ebbed in a mesmerizing cycle, unveiling shades unseen before. The distant stone house grew clearer, its chimney emitting wisps of smoke, windows glowing with a warm golden light. I pondered whether inhabitants dwelled within that painted abode, pondering if they observed me, seated in my armchair, peering through that mystical window, disguised as a painting. Surprisingly, the notion did not unsettle me, but rather filled me with a tranquil sense of discovery, as if I had stumbled upon a hidden passage where reality intertwined with fantasy. Hours slipped by, and the painting unveiled its secrets with patience. Figures seemed to stroll along the path at times, only to dissolve like fleeting shadows when I focused too intently. As dawn painted the sky with hues of pink, the painting gradually reverted to its original state. The leaves stilled, colors settled, and the distant house faded into the morning mist. The lingering scent of damp leaves remained, the sole remnant of the enchanting night I had witnessed. Since then, each evening finds me in my armchair, watching the painting with patient anticipation. Sometimes it divulges its mysteries, while at other times, it remains as silent as any ordinary artwork. Yet, deep down, I know that behind that canvas lies a hidden realm. A world that stirs only when the rest of the world slumbers, beckoning to those who possess the patience to observe. Story 16. Silence draped the narrow streets of the quaint hillside town like a velvety shroud. It was an autumn eve filled with the scent of crackling wood fires and moist leaves, as tendrils of fog slinked through the labyrinthine alleys like a stealthy feline. Gazing out from my perch on the third floor of the apartment building, I beheld the glow emanating from the windows of the neighboring houses, suffused with a gentle amber hue. A peculiar sight it was, to witness so many lights ablaze at this late hour, yet no signs of life stirring behind the misted panes. The resonant toll of the church bell marked 10 o'clock in the evening, its chime carrying an eerie hollowness, as though the bells themselves were swathed in a cloak of cotton. Though I had only recently arrived in this town 3 weeks prior, never had I seen the streets so eerily vacant. Normally, even at this late hour, a solitary figure, a senior with their faithful hound or the youth from the local bar, would dot the landscape, engaged in quiet pursuits under the soft glow of the street lamps. Seated in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of chamomile tea in my hands, I observed the absence of even the usual stray cat that frequented Mrs. Miller's windowsill. Wisps of steam wisped upwards from the cup, pirouetting in the air before dissolving into the room's obsidian shadows. Opting to keep only a small reading lamp aglow, casting gentle shadows upon the cream walls, I was startled by a sudden rustling sound emanating from the hallway leading to the bedroom. Intrigued rather than fearful, I turned my gaze towards the source of the noise. It persisted in rhythmic intervals, akin to the gentle rustle of paper being moved across a surface. Placing the cup gingerly on the wooden side table, I rose from my seat and traversed the space, noting a perceptible drop in temperature. Not the icy chill of winter, but a coolness reminiscent of stepping into an ancient cathedral. The floorboards murmured softly underfoot, a familiar sound that oddly comforted me. Upon reaching the threshold of the bedroom, I hesitated. The door stood ajar, emitting a soft bluish light that differed from any illumination within my abode. Pushing the door open with a muted creak, my attention was drawn to the window area. Though the window was shut, the curtain fluttered as if caressed by a gentle breeze. Resting on the floor beneath the window was a lone sheet of paper. As I bent to retrieve it, I recognized it as a yellowed newspaper page dated October 15, 1954. The headline of the article seized my focus: Enigmatic Night of Silence in Pine Grove. The narrative recounted an evening when the town's denizens had collectively retreated into their homes, as if compelled by an unspoken pact of unknown origin. Engrossed in the text, a movement beyond the window snagged my attention. Across the street, the lights in the neighboring houses extinguished in succession, akin to candles extinguished by a breath of wind. Yet, within the dim interiors, motionless silhouettes seemed to peer out towards the street. My reverie was interrupted by the buzz of my cell phone within the pocket of my robe. A message from the building's WhatsApp group flashed across the screen. Tonight, all are to remain indoors. It is imperative. Peering out the window once more, I noted that all lights had now been snuffed out, save for mine. Amidst the deepening silence, the rhythm of my heartbeat seemed to slow, aligning with something ancient and enigmatic. Perching on the edge of the bed, clutching the aged newspaper clipping, I marveled at its velvety softness, as though it had been handled by countless hands over the years. Beyond the window, the fog had thickened, enveloping the streetlights in a luminous haze. From my vantage point, the entire main thoroughfare lay deserted, shrouded in an ethereal stillness. Recalling the accounts detailed in the article, wherein the townsfolk had no recollection of the events following that silent night, I rose from the bed and made my way to the light switch. Before plunging the room into darkness, I cast a final glance out the window. The fog had assumed sinuous, almost waltzing forms, and for an instant, I fancied seeing spectral figures flit within, akin to shadows adrift in a sea of milk. With the room now enshrouded in silence, punctuated solely by the steady tick-tock of the nightstand clock, I settled onto the bed, still fully clothed. Drifting into a profound slumber, I pondered whether the morning would find me recalling this night's events, or if, like the town's residents of yore, I would remain oblivious to the cyclic mystery weaving through our lives. The final echo that resonated in my mind before succumbing to sleep was the distant tolling of midnight bells, their peals curiously muted, as if echoing from a realm where silence reigned as the universal language of its inhabitants. Story 17. The wooden floor murmured softly beneath my feet as I strolled down the hallway during the fading glow of sunset. Grandma's house was always a place of secrets, where each creak and groan of the aged boards seemed to whisper a tale of its own. The air carried the sweet fragrance of lavender mingled with the scent of ancient wood, a comforting aroma that had lingered with me through all the summers of my youth. But on this particular evening, a subtle shift in the atmosphere caught my attention. I halted in front of the weathered attic door, drawn to a detail that had previously escaped my notice. The once white paint, now worn and chipped, bore curious marks etched into its surface. Stepping closer, I discerned that these marks were not mere random scratches left by the passage of time. They appeared deliberate, forming a pattern that hinted at a hidden message waiting to be deciphered. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting amber rays through the windows, elongated shadows danced along the walls, weaving a silent tapestry in the hallway. The only sounds breaking the hush were the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock downstairs and the gentle rustling of leaves stirred by the wind outside. Tentatively, I reached out and traced the intricate marks with my fingertips, feeling the rough texture of the scratched wood beneath my touch. The patterns were precise, almost geometric in their arrangement, some markings deeper than others, as if they had been inscribed at different moments in time. I marveled at how many times I had passed by that door without noticing the enigmatic carvings. Recollections stirred within me as I pondered the significance of those markings. Grandma had never spoken of strange occurrences emanating from the attic, yet now I recalled her avoidance of the stairs leading upward. A chill breeze caressed the back of my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. The hallway appeared to stretch endlessly, shadows deepening around me. Retrieving the heavy brass key hanging on the wall, its ornate floral designs faded by years gone by, I hesitated before inserting it into the lock. The mechanism protested faintly as I turned the key, and a subtle noise reached my ears, akin to a slow, deep breath, seeming to emanate from the other side of the door. My heart quickened its pace within my chest as I froze, the mysterious sound vanishing into the stillness of the house. With trembling hands, I activated the flashlight on my phone, aiming the beam of light at the door's surface. Shadows retreated, unveiling hidden details previously obscured in darkness. The scratches coalesced into a circular motif, resembling a spiral spiraling in on itself. At the center of this intricate design, I discerned a series of numbers delicately etched, barely visible to the naked eye. Struggling to decipher the cryptic message, a faint memory surfaced in the recesses of my mind. Grandma had once alluded to a secret diary tucked away somewhere in the house, a repository of family mysteries. Though she never disclosed its exact location, her distant gaze during those conversations hinted at the importance of safeguarding its contents. The wind outside intensified, causing the aged windows to groan in protest. Shadows swayed in the hallway, as though dancing to an ethereal melody. A connection formed in my mind between the numbers on the door and the elusive diary, yet an unspoken force held me back from crossing the threshold. Was it intuition or ancestral wisdom that cautioned restraint? Slowly retreating, I fancied I heard a faint scratching emanating from within the attic, a gentle and methodical sound, as though an unseen hand was etching a new message into existence. Glancing back one final time, I observed the scratches on the door seemingly aglow in the fading light of dusk. That night, ensconced in my bed, thoughts of the enigmatic numbers plagued my mind. I transcribed them into my journal, vowing to return the following day for further investigation. However, upon awakening the next morning, the attic door appeared unremarkable, devoid of any visible markings. Only the brass key retained a peculiar luminescence, hinting at a concealed secret not yet prepared to be unveiled. Since that peculiar evening, each visit to Grandma's house finds me pausing before the mysterious door. At times, I swear I catch a glimpse of the markings reappearing in the dim light, or hear the faint echo of that enigmatic breath from beyond. Yet I have never dared to unlock the door once more. Some enigmas, perhaps, are best left undisturbed, safeguarded within the silent embrace of an ancient abode, and cherished by those attuned to its murmurs. Story 18. The rain whispered against the window panes of my rustic country home, creating a soothing symphony that blended harmoniously with the gentle creaking of the wooden floor beneath my feet. It was a night in autumn when the line between what's real and what's imagined appeared faint, almost vanishing. The leaves of the trees outside swayed in the darkness, casting elusive shadows on the cream walls of the hallway through the misted glass. Nestled in my beloved armchair, cradling a cup of now cool chamomile tea, I absent-mindedly watched as the soft glow of the floor lamp painted a golden halo on the ground. There was a subtle shift in the air that evening, a mysterious sensation that lingered, teasing my senses. It might have been the heaviness of the atmosphere, or the profound silence of the house that felt almost tangible. I rose from my seat languidly, drawn by a flicker of movement caught in my peripheral vision. The corridor leading to the bedrooms seemed elongated, as if stretching beyond its usual boundaries. The shadows nestled in the corners appeared denser, darker, almost animated. Standing at the threshold of the living room, I gazed into the deepening darkness that enveloped the hallway's end. The temperature seemed to drop gradually as I ventured forth. The floor beneath me echoed unfamiliar sounds, as though I trod upon a foreign ground. The ancestral portraits adorning the walls seemed to regard me with a newfound intensity, as if the familiar faces had undergone a subtle transformation. Halfway down the hallway, I halted. A peculiar fragrance wafted to my nostrils, a scent of aged books and damp wood foreign to my home. I turned to the window on my right, observing the intricate patterns rain had etched on the glass, patterns that seemed to follow a cryptic yet coherent design. And then, it materialized before me, a shadow darker than the rest, moving with an otherworldly grace along the opposing wall. It cast no visible source and possessed a solidity akin to condensed mist. Moving with a hesitant elegance, it seemed aware of my presence. My breath deepened and slowed as I watched, not gripped by fear, but by a curious sense of recognition, as if that presence had always lingered, waiting to be acknowledged. The shadow paused by the guest room door, assuming a vaguely human form. Stepping closer, it seemed to react to my proximity, flickering slightly. The rain's whisper evolved into a constant murmur, as if attempting to convey a message. Straining my ears, I almost discerned words in an unfamiliar yet oddly understandable language. The air grew cooler around me, a refreshing sensation akin to being enveloped in a silken sheet on a balmy summer night. The shadow resumed its motion, gliding towards me in a slow, fluid dance. I stood transfixed, witnessing its gradual approach. A few steps away it halted. In the hush of the house, my steady heartbeat resonated. The shadow inclined slightly, a gesture reminiscent of a greeting. Compelled by an inexplicable urge, I raised a hand. Mirroring my action, the shadow extended what seemed like a hand from its nebulous form. Though no physical touch occurred, a warmth enveloped the space where our hands nearly met. Then, with the same grace it had appeared, the shadow began to dissipate, vanishing into the air like smoke carried by an unseen breeze. Left behind was a faint hint of jasmine and a profound sense of tranquility. I lingered in the hallway, time seeming to stretch infinitely, as the rain's melody ebbed away. Upon returning to the living room, I found my tea still warm, as if time had paused during my encounter. Since that fateful evening, on rainy nights when I traversed that hallway, I keenly watched the shadows. At times, I catch a glimpse of that familiar form, dancing just beyond my peripheral vision. The identity of the shadow remains a mystery, but its presence has not instilled fear in me, only a realization that some enigmas require no unraveling. The hallway of my abode now harbors this secret, and on quiet nights with rain tapping on the window panes, I await, with a blend of curiosity and peace, another encounter with the shadow that dances beyond the corridor. Story 19. The night held its own rhythm, a symphony of whispers merging with the gentle patter of rain on the rooftop. Stirred from slumber once again, a trend of recent nights, I found myself wide awake in the dark hours. But this time felt different. A peculiar sight greeted my eyes on the nightstand beside me, bathed in the soft glow of moonlight filtering through the curtains. An ancient brass key, adorned with intricate designs along its edges. It was a stranger to my memory, yet a strange sense of familiarity enveloped me as I reached out to touch it. The key's cold touch sent a shiver down my spine, its weight far heavier than expected for its size. Time had etched a unique patina on its surface, a testament to its age and history. Examining it closely, I noticed its design was like no other. Smooth and worn, lacking the jagged teeth of modern keys or the ornate grooves of antique ones. It bore floral motifs intertwined with symbols reminiscent of a long-forgotten language. Compelled by an inexplicable urge to explore, I rose from my bed, the key emitting a faint bluish aura that beckoned me forward. The house felt transformed in the night, shadows shaping familiar corners into unknown territory. Following the key's soft light, I traversed the rooms, the creaking of the wooden floor beneath me and the scent of aged wood and weathered paper filling the air. At each doorway, I held the key close, sensing a subtle vibration as if it sought something beyond the visible realm. It wasn't until I reached my study that a change in the key's behavior caught my attention. The antique bookcase passed down from my grandfather resonated in harmony with the key's presence. Drawing nearer, I watched as the key's glow intensified, casting dancing shadows from the shelves onto the walls. Tracing the key along the bookcase's edge, a deep, almost imperceptible hum filled the room, as if an ancient melody had been awakened. The wood of the bookcase responded to the key's touch, quivering in response to its silent call. Though no lock was visible, the key seemed to have found its purpose. In that suspended moment, time seemed to lose its grip. An ancient energy permeated the air, shadows stirring with newfound awareness. The key's glow pulsed rhythmically, revealing hidden patterns in the bookcase's wood that had long evaded notice. Following an instinctual pull, I pressed the key against the central panel of the bookcase. A sigh-like sound echoed through the room as the wood rippled like a disturbed pond, reflecting fleeting images of bygone faces and forgotten places. As morning's light dispersed the night's mysteries, I sat at my desk, the key clasped tightly in my hand. The bookcase stood silent, a relic of the past unchanged on the surface. Yet a shift had occurred. In the days that followed, the key lost its ethereal glow, but retained its weighty presence. On the quietest nights, a deep vibration seemed to emanate from the bookcase, a silent call echoing through the chambers of the house. I refrained from using the key again, understanding that some doors are better left unopened, even when the key lies within reach. Now nestled in a velvet-lined drawer of my writing desk, the key rests in quiet repose. In moments of profound stillness, I sense its silent summons, pondering whether it found me, rather than the reverse, and what other enigmas lie within a key without a lock. Story 20. The November breeze danced with the dry leaves scattered along the driveway as my gaze lingered on the silhouette of the forsaken mansion silhouetted against the gloomy sky. Known as the never-inhabited house, a misnomer as whispers of a forgotten resident echoed through time. I approached the weathered gate, its cold wrought iron bars brushing against my fingertips. The air carried a distinct scent of moss and damp stone, wrapping the neglected garden in a cloak of mystery. Brambles and nettles entwined the cracked walls, nature's reclaiming grip, yet an air of somber grace lingered over the decaying mansion. As a real estate agent tasked with assessing the property, I traversed the wild garden, my footsteps stirring whispers among the tangled foliage. Curious paths freshly marked hinted at a presence unseen. The neighbors insisted on the property's abandonment, yet these signs told a different tale. With a soft creak, the front door yielded, unveiling a bluish twilight that bathed the interior in a ghostly hue. Dust hung heavy in the air, mingling with the essence of ancient wood that permeated the stillness. Each step across the creaking floor unveiled a past frozen in time. The main salon held furniture veiled in yellowed sheets, their shapes haunting in the dim light. Veiled mirrors adorned the walls, casting ethereal reflections that danced with the shadows. Ascending the polished wooden staircase, a corridor lined with closed doors beckoned, each unveiling empty spaces frozen in abandonment. Yet, in a woman's bedroom, a subtle disturbance in the dust hinted at recent activity. A silver brush lay beside dark strands of hair, untouched by time. The bedspread bore a ghostly impression, as if a figure had recently occupied the space, a presence lingering in the stillness. A flicker in the mirror caught my eye, briefly revealing a phantom seated on the bed before vanishing into the shadows. Descending the stairs, a haunting melody, ancient and melancholic, drifted through the empty halls, a whisper of the unseen. Exiting the mansion, the garden stood silent, the wind now a gentle lullaby. Turning back, a fleeting glow behind an upstairs window teased of a presence unseen. In the days that followed, I penned my report, capturing the mansion's essence in words. The hair and the haunting melody remained unspoken, veiled in the mystery of the never-inhabited house. A note hinting at the property's unique allure graced the pages, a subtle nod to the unseen presence that dwelled within. Time passed, the mansion lingering on the market, a silent sentinel of secrets untold. With each passing glance at the rusty gate, a phantom figure moved through the upper rooms, a specter of a bygone era. Perhaps the true secret of the never-inhabited house lay not in its emptiness, but in the lingering presence of a soul tethered to its walls, forever waiting. A whispered tale, carried on the wind, weaving a tapestry of mystery and melancholy that painted the mansion in shades of the unseen. Story 21. Snow drifted down gently that evening in my quaint antique shop. The flakes pirouetted behind the windows, basking in the cozy glow of vintage lamps, casting a soft and inviting aura. The aged wooden shelves murmured softly, in harmony with the unhurried cadence of the pendulum clock's hands. The air carried the nostalgic perfume of antiquity, a blend of old books and beeswax, a scent that whispered tales of times long past. As I arranged a stack of volumes, the doorbell tolled with a crystalline chime, heralding an unexpected visitor. A rush of cold air slipped into the shop, bearing a few snowflakes that dissolved instantly on the wooden floor. I turned, ready to greet the guest, but found myself momentarily taken aback. Standing at the threshold was a tall figure cloaked in darkness, seemingly swallowing the light around them. A broad-brimmed hat obscured the upper features, while a gray wool scarf veiled the lower face. "Good evening," I offered softly, attempting to maintain a composed demeanor, though a subtle unease crept through me. The visitor remained silent, gliding gracefully amidst the shelves, their gloved hands skimming delicately over the antique wares. There was a mesmerizing quality to their movements, as if they danced to an ethereal melody only they could hear. I became entranced, studying their every gesture, noting how light seemed to bend strangely in their presence. Shadows deepened and thickened, assuming a life of their own. Pausing before an ancient mirror, a relic from the 18th century acquired just the week prior, the visitor's gloved fingers traced the gilded frame with deliberate precision. A weighty silence enveloped the shop, punctuated only by the measured ticking of the clock, each beat elongating into eternity. I ventured to steal a glance at their reflection in the mirror, only to find an unsettling absence. The reflective surface betrayed no trace of their presence. Approaching cautiously, the floor creaking beneath my steps, I ventured, "Can I assist you in finding something specific?" My voice, barely a whisper, hung in the air. Slowly turning towards me, the customer's obscured face revealed only shifting shadows beneath the hat. With a fluid motion, they produced a yellowed parchment from their coat pocket, unfolding it delicately on the counter beside the cash register. The list, penned in elegant, archaic script, detailed enigmatic items: a mirror that remembers, a clock that counts backwards, a key that opens forgotten doors. Reading the list, I sensed a chill creeping through the shop, my breath forming ethereal wisps in the frigid air. Objects on the shelves seemed to tremble imperceptibly, as if recognizing a kindred spirit in the visitor's presence. "I regret to inform you," I murmured, "that I do not possess these particular items." The visitor remained motionless, a silent sentinel, before nodding slowly. Retrieving the parchment with grace, they returned it to its resting place within their coat. Drifting towards the exit, they paused momentarily. Partially turning, a sound, more akin to a whisper of thought than a voice, emanated from the depths of the scarf. "You will." It was not a question but a predestined certainty. As they departed, the bell tolled once more, its resonance deeper, as if echoing from a distant realm. Outside, the snow fell unabated, yet for a fleeting instant, the flakes suspended in a timeless waltz. That night, upon shuttering the shop, I inspected the antique mirror. Its reflective surface seemed to conceal secrets within its silvery depths. The pendulum clock, the stalwart timekeeper, had halted precisely at the moment of the visitor's arrival. Since that fateful evening, as twilight descends and shadows lengthen, I find myself drawn to the door, awaiting the echo of the bell. Every object in the shop, it seems, shares in this silent vigil, as if anticipating the return of that enigmatic customer. In an antique emporium, each item harbors a tale untold, and perhaps, just perhaps, some objects await the inception of their own narratives. Story 22 Night draped the ancient countryside abode in a cloak of profound serenity. Nestled in my cherished armchair beside the crackling fireplace, I observed the shadows waltz across the walls as the flames leisurely devoured the logs. A comforting warmth embraced me, while beyond, the autumn breeze tenderly brushed against the tree leaves. It was in that moment of utter tranquility that a peculiar sound reached my ears, a crystalline, childlike laughter emanating from the upper floor of the house, a laughter akin to silver bells. Pausing to listen, I allowed the sound to intertwine with the fire's gentle crackling. There was an innocence to it, a joyful resonance, almost like music. And yet, in over 2 decades of solitary dwelling in this house, children had never graced its halls. Curiosity began to stir within me, a gentle stream flowing in, gradually dispelling the drowsiness that had nearly overtaken me. With deliberate movements, I rose from the armchair, relishing the sensation as my feet met the aged Persian rug. The wooden floorboards whispered softly underfoot as I made my way towards the staircase. The flickering candlelight in the living room cast a warm, inviting glow, casting my shadow in a silent dance upon the walls. Ascending the stairs, I noticed the air growing cooler with each step. Not a harsh cold, but a caress upon the skin, reminiscent of the gentle ocean breeze. The laughter echoed once more, closer this time, beckoning from the guest room. A room seldom frequented, adorned with antique furniture cloaked in white sheets that swayed as if moved by an unseen hand. The door stood slightly ajar, allowing a silvery light to spill through, unlike any other illumination in the house. Not moonlight, too warm for that, nor the glow of electric lamps. It was a light of its own, pulsating softly like a tranquil heartbeat. As I pushed the door open, the ancient wood sang a familiar tune. The room unfolded before me, bathed in that eerie luminescence. The draped furniture formed gentle, reassuring shapes, resembling clouds in a clear sky. And there, perched on the windowsill, I beheld a sight that caught my breath. Not a distinct figure, but a dance of light and shadow, evoking the image of a child. The laughter rang out once more, this time clearly emanating from that radiant presence. No fear gripped me, only a profound sense of awe. The light child seemed to toy with its luminous rays, painting ethereal patterns on the walls as if crafting with light itself. I approached cautiously, feeling the room's temperature oscillate between cool and warm, like the ebb and flow of ocean waves. Drawing near, I discerned a familiarity in the figure. In its fluid movements, I recognized echoes of my own childhood gestures, a long-forgotten memory surfacing. That crystalline, pure laughter was my own from years past. Time seemed to stretch as I gazed upon that surreal scene. The light child continued its silent play, interrupted sporadically by that melodious laughter, echoing like a whisper from bygone days. I refrained from speaking or disrupting, afraid to shatter the spell of peace and nostalgia. Slowly, the silvery light began to fade, akin to the sun setting on a winter eve. The child's form grew increasingly translucent until only a faint glow remained. The final laughter I heard was a soft murmur, a tender farewell before dissolving into darkness. I lingered in the room for what felt like an eternity, enveloped in a serene hush. The draped furniture ceased its swaying, the air returned to its usual state. Yet something had shifted. The guest room, once a repository of dusty recollections, now held a precious enigma. Retreating to my armchair beside the dwindling fire, I understood I would never truly unravel the events of that night. Was it a dream, a memory resurfacing, or perchance a profound message from the past, manifesting through a child's laughter in the shadows? Since that night, whenever I pass by the guest room, I pause to listen. On the stillest of nights, I catch a faint echo of that crystalline laughter, a soothing lullaby guiding me towards slumber. And with a smile, I allow the mystery to endure, a sweet secret shared between myself and the child who laughs in the darkness. Story 23. The autumn wind whispered softly through the rustling leaves as I meandered down the quiet country road, bathed in the warm hues of a sunset, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The GPS had lost its way miles back, but I felt a calm assurance in my familiarity with this area, or so I thought. The dirt road snaked gently between hills adorned with barren vineyards, and the crisp scent of damp earth and fallen leaves wafted in through the cracked window, filling the car with nature's perfume. In that fleeting moment, time seemed to slow, allowing me to embrace each passing second. Turning right at the weathered wooden sign marked by the relentless passage of time, a peculiar realization dawned on me. This road was a stranger to my mental map of the region. Pausing briefly, I sought to reorient myself as the elongating shadows played tricks, casting enchanting silhouettes amidst the trees lining the path. The road beneath my tires was impeccably maintained, its smooth asphalt disappearing into the evening mist without a single blemish. Floating dead leaves danced lazily in the air, as if suspended in a world where time moved at a languid pace. Continuing at a leisurely pace, my curiosity piqued as I observed the shifting landscape around me. The trees flanking the road appeared ancient and twisted, their canopies entwining above like a natural archway filtering the dwindling twilight. In the distance, faint lights flickered like misplaced fireflies, gracefully darting between the tree trunks, appearing and vanishing like fleeting memories. The silence enveloped me, broken only by the gentle hum of the engine and the whisper of leaves stirred by the breeze. As I ventured forth, the road seemed to undergo a subtle transformation. The boundaries blurred, as if softened by an invisible hand. Shadows deepened, yet not with menace but with a gentle embrace, as if reality itself were yielding its sharp edges. Abruptly, a glint caught my eye. An aged brass mailbox stood by the roadside, its impeccable condition belying its years. Adorned with an intricate compass rose engraving, it beckoned me closer. A faint warmth seemed to radiate from the metal as I reached out to touch it, a stark contrast to the cool evening air. The road continued to wind serenely, revealing increasingly curious details. Dimly glowing milestone stones lined the edge, emitting a soft luminescence as though imbued with an inner light. Peering closer, the radiance seemed to emanate from within the very stones themselves. Above, the sky took on an indescribable hue, a color seemingly unique to this forgotten realm. Stars timidly emerged, their presence altered as if glimpsing a sky from a distant time or world. After what felt like both an eternity and a fleeting moment, I crested a hill to find a small circular clearing, its ancient stone pavement glistening in the warm glow of an old wrought iron lamppost. Halting my car, I stepped out into an atmosphere of profound stillness, as if time itself held its breath. From this vantage point, the distant city lights twinkled like distant memories, separated from this ethereal reality by an unseen veil. Surveying the scene, I noticed the road behind me had morphed into a path paved with ancient stones, worn by the passage of countless journeys. Returning to my car, I retrieved a road map from the glove compartment and scrutinized it beneath the lamppost's comforting light. As suspected, the road I had traversed was conspicuously absent from the map, as if I had ventured through a realm existing solely in dreams. Folding the map, a sudden gust caused it to flutter in my grasp. For a fleeting moment, golden lines seemed to materialize on the paper, tracing a faintly glowing path before dissipating into the night. Blinking, the vision vanished as swiftly as it had appeared. Remaining in that surreal haven a while longer, I absorbed the profound tranquility that permeated the air. When the decision to depart finally beckoned, I noticed the lamppost had silently extinguished. Ahead, the road vanished into darkness, yet an unspoken assurance guided me towards home. Driving back towards the city, I cast furtive glances in the rearview mirror. The lamppost had rekindled, its light diminishing as I distanced myself. A golden luminescence danced in the air, akin to stardust scattered upon the road absent from any map. In the days that ensued, I embarked on numerous quests to rediscover that enigmatic road. Hours were spent traversing the countryside, exploring every fork and byway in search of that solitary lamppost and its radiant stones. Alas, the road, with its elusive charm, had slipped away like a fleeting dream upon awakening. The sole remnant of my journey was a faint golden trace upon my aged map, unveiled only when illuminated by a specific light, akin to a clandestine secret awaiting rediscovery. Story 24. The Enigmatic Streetlight. Autumn nights in our quaint neighborhood always held a touch of magic. The crisp air whispered of fallen leaves, and the hushed rustle of footsteps echoed on the dampened streets. Lately, however, a peculiar occurrence had captured my attention during my nightly strolls home from work. It revolved around the streetlight at the intersection of Maple Street and Rose Avenue, a light unlike its companions that bathed the sidewalks in a steady glow. This particular light possessed a mysterious behavior, revealing itself only to me. As I drew near, the light would softly diminish, as though veiling a secret from my watchful eyes. Initially dismissing it as a mere malfunction, I soon found myself captivated by its peculiar actions. The dimming occurred solely in my presence, unaffected by the passing of others beneath it. Curiosity piqued, I decided to delve deeper. One evening, I conducted an experiment, standing 60 feet away, leaning against the weathered facade of the Art Deco building. The streetlight's beam painted elongated shadows and illuminated the dew-kissed grass in the nearby garden. With each step closer, the light faltered, as if drawing a curtain of secrecy around itself. At last, beneath its faint glow, a profound stillness enveloped me, as if even the city sounds had retreated. Gazing up at the glass casing, I discerned peculiar markings etched upon its surface, obscured by the dwindling light. Attempting to illuminate it with my phone, a sudden gust of wind stirred the leaves, and a subtle movement within the glass caught my attention. Intrigued, I altered my route to pass under the enigmatic streetlight each night, drawn to the silent dance of dimming light and whispered secrets. With each encounter, new revelations unfolded. Subtle shifts in hue hinted at a hidden language, while a melodic hum resonated from within, pulsating like a forgotten melody. Placing my hand upon the cool metal pole, I felt vibrations coursing through me, as if the streetlight sought to communicate. Documenting my observations meticulously, I uncovered a pattern tied to lunar phases, the light's behavior mirroring the moon's cycles. The streetlight's influence extended beyond its enigmatic presence, shaping my nightly routine into a solemn ritual. I found myself pausing beneath its dimmed glow, listening intently to the ethereal hum that seemed to recount tales of yore. Refraining from seeking a rational explanation, I embraced the mystery, relishing the silent communion between us. Each night, as I traversed the familiar path homeward, I anticipated the streetlight's quiet vigil, our shared moment of twilight. In that fleeting darkness, amidst the dance of shadows and light, I felt a connection to something greater, a mystery unveiled solely through the language of the night. And so, night after night, I partook in the enigmatic waltz with the streetlight that dimmed at my approach, content in the embrace of the unknown. Story 25. The doorbell remained silent on that autumn afternoon, not daring to disturb the peaceful ambience. A gentle knock echoed through the house, as soft as a moth's wings brushing against a window pane. Wrapped snugly in a cozy blanket, I sat on the couch, engrossed in a book, while the rain outside played a soothing melody on the glass. Rising from my seat with a calm demeanor, I attributed the faint sound to the whims of the wind outside. Upon opening the door, an empty sight greeted me, save for a perfectly squared brown package resting on the threshold. No labels, no addresses adorned the mysterious parcel, only my name elegantly inscribed in ancient calligraphy. The cardboard felt smooth and dry to the touch, despite the rain's persistent patter outside. Curiosity piqued, I brought it inside, the silence of the house deepening, punctuated only by the rhythmic ticking of the pendulum clock and the gentle rain in the background. Seated once more on the couch, I scrutinized the enigmatic package from every angle. Its flawless edges, devoid of any openings or tape, hinted at a craftsmanship akin to origami. A subtle fragrance wafted from within, reminiscent of old books mingled with black tea and a hint of sandalwood. As I cradled it in my lap, a delicate movement seemed to stir inside, like whispers of air dancing within, imperceptible yet palpable. The waning afternoon light cast elongated shadows across the room, the natural twilight enveloping everything in a soft embrace. The package seemed to absorb the dwindling light in a peculiar manner, its surface playing with reflections in a mesmerizing dance. After a contemplative pause, I set out to unravel its mysteries, tracing my fingers along its warm spots, sensing an inexplicable pattern beneath the cardboard surface. A distant memory stirred within me, hazy and nebulous, akin to a forgotten dream. Recollections of a similar package surfaced from the depths of my mind, perhaps encountered in childhood at my grandparents' home. The rain outside intensified slightly, tracing patterns on the window that mirrored the warmth I felt emanating from the package. Was it mere coincidence or a subtle connection unfolding before me? Lost in contemplation, the room's temperature seemed to shift imperceptibly, settling into a state of tranquil equilibrium. The familiar scent grew more pronounced, mingling with the petrichor of rain seeping through the window. A remarkable discovery awaited me. Faint, luminous impressions lingered where my fingers grazed the cardboard, a mysterious reaction to my touch that shimmered briefly before fading like ethereal stars in the night sky. Time slipped away unnoticed as I marveled at this phenomenon, only to realize dusk had descended upon the room. Bathed in a bluish twilight, the package emitted a faint glow, its allure undiminished by the passage of time. Opting to postpone its unveiling, I gingerly placed it on the coffee table and illuminated the room with a soft lamp, restoring normalcy. In the days that followed, the package remained a silent enigma on the table, occasionally revealing glimpses of its inner dance and evolving scent. The allure of the unknown beckoned, its secrets veiled in a shroud of mystery and intrigue. The magic lay not in its contents, but in the profound enigma it embodied, a riddle meant to be savored, not unraveled. Even now, as autumn rain caresses the windows, I find myself drawn back to that elusive package and its silent presence. I ponder if elsewhere, in another abode, another soul contemplates a similar mystery, their name inscribed in that elegant calligraphy, pondering the choice to delve into its secrets or let the mystery linger, a dance of shadows and light, forever undisturbed. Story 26. The autumn rain whispered softly, its delicate touch creating a veil of mystery that blurred the boundaries of reality. It was late, and the hours at work had stretched beyond their usual limits. Each step I took on the damp pavement blended harmoniously with the rhythmic drumming of raindrops on the roofs of parked cars. The air was heavy, with that unique scent only rain can conjure, a blend of moist earth, decaying leaves, and a subtle freshness that lingers after a storm. Approaching the bus stop, a solitary figure caught my eye. They sat motionless on the bench beneath the transparent shelter, draped in a dark coat that seemed to meld seamlessly with the shadows of the night. A wide-brimmed hat partially obscured their features, adding to the air of enigma that surrounded them. What struck me immediately was how, despite the downpour, their coat remained untouched by the rain, a curious anomaly in the midst of the storm. Halting a few paces away, I observed in silence the dim glow of the street lamp casting eerie shadows around the figure. It was as though their form wavered like a mirage, elusive and indistinct, as if seen through a frosted lens. The sound of the rain, usually a cacophony, hushed in their presence, creating a realm of unnatural quietude. Glancing at my phone, I noted there were 20 minutes until my bus arrived. Tentatively, I edged closer to the shelter, seeking refuge from the intensifying rain. The stranger remained unmoving, seemingly oblivious to my presence. Seating myself at the far end of the bench, I maintained a respectful distance, yet a sense of unease lingered. A peculiar detail seized my attention. Despite sharing the same shelter, raindrops near the stranger diverted their course, as if repelled by an unseen force. The sound of the rain altered its melody as it approached them, emitting a faint, almost imperceptible hiss. Time crept by at an agonizing pace, my attempts to distract myself with my phone futile against the stranger's magnetic pull. From the corner of my eye, I caught glimpses of a subtle movement, as if the stranger observed some distant specter invisible to me. A gust of wind caused the street lamp to sway, casting deeper shadows for a fleeting moment. In that instant, the figure turned towards me, revealing beneath the hat's brim two luminous points, akin to moonlight on tranquil waters. My heart beat a steady, resounding rhythm in my chest, a blend of curiosity and apprehension, compelling me to stay rooted to my seat. The stranger shifted back to their original position, the moment passing like a wave receding from the shore. As the bus drew near, its familiar rumble shattered the silence, headlights piercing the darkness and casting elongated shadows on the slick road. With a swift, unsteady rise, I prepared to board the bus, stealing one last glance at the bench. To my astonishment, the stranger had vanished, leaving no trace of their departure. No sound of movement, no echo of footsteps, simply an absence in the night. Trembling slightly, I settled into a seat near the driver as the bus set in motion. Peering through the fogged window, I glimpsed the empty shelter, a fleeting image of a dark figure dissolving into the rain, dispersing like smoke carried by the wind. In the days that ensued, each visit to the bus stop on rainy nights bore a subtle shift. The street lamp's glow seemed dimmer, the rain's cadence imbued with a haunting echo, as if the air itself retained the memory of that cryptic presence. Though the stranger never crossed my path again, on rainy evenings thereafter, I noticed with a quiet fascination how certain raindrops strayed from their expected trajectory, dancing in inexplicable patterns as if guided by an unseen hand. And so the mystery lingered, a whisper of the night that resonated in the gentle fall of raindrops. Story 27. The evening held a unique essence, with autumn seeping into your bones, whispering of lengthening nights. Nestled in the armchair of my study, I savored the gentle wind outside, a soft caress on the leaves crafting a natural lullaby. Amid this tranquil moment, a noise stirred from the basement, a faint rustling akin to old paper whispering secrets. Initially dismissing it as the house settling, I rose, driven by curiosity more than worry. The warm glow of the desk lamp enveloped me in a golden aura as I approached the basement door. Each wooden step sighed beneath my weight, sharing ancient whispers. The air grew cooler as I descended, carrying hints of damp earth and forgotten books. In the basement, shadows waltzed to the flickering light bulb, casting a familiar scene of orderly boxes and shrouded furniture, resembling slumbering specters. Yet, an unfamiliar detail seized my attention that evening. Nestled in the room's darkest corner where light struggled to reach, stood a door. Simple in design, crafted from dark wood, devoid of ornamentation. Strangely, I had no recollection of ever seeing it before, despite hours spent organizing in that basement. The brass handle gleamed unusually bright, as though freshly polished. Intrigued, I approached, sensing the floor throb beneath my feet, a pulse of its own. Drawing nearer, a chill emanated from the door, chilling the air around it. My fingertips grazed the uneven, aged wood, sensing a faint vibration, as if the door acknowledged my presence. The basement's silence grew oppressive, punctuated only by my echoing heartbeat. Tentatively, I grasped the handle. Surprisingly warm, it contrasted the frigid atmosphere. With a smooth turn, the door swung open noiselessly, revealing a sight beyond belief. Instead of a wall or another room, a thin silvery mist undulated, swayed by unseen currents. Emitting a soft, enchanting light, it beckoned, not with fear, but with a soothing allure, akin to a fading dream upon waking. Within the mist, a delicate melody drifted like a ghostly piano tune. A sweet, familiar scent wafted forth, redolent of spring blooms or freshly brewed tea. Standing at the threshold, torn between curiosity and caution, the mist shimmered, morphing shapes that eluded clear definition. Familiar faces flickered, unseen landscapes unfurled before vanishing. It felt like peering through a veil separating realities, revealing depths of mystery and wonder. Retreating, I closed the door gently. Its lock clicked, dispelling the enchantment. Familiar sounds returned. The clocks tick, winds rustle, a distant dog's bark. Ascending the stairs, an extraordinary sense lingered. In the days that ensued, I revisited the basement, yet the door had vanished, replaced by an unyielding brick wall. Still, in hushed nights when wakefulness and slumber blurred, a distant melody lingers, prompting thoughts of that hidden door awaiting rediscovery. Certain doors unveil themselves at specific junctures, where time and space converge in unfathomable ways. Perhaps some mysteries are best left unsolved, their beauty preserved in secrecy, like dreams that fleetingly touch reality before dissolving into the mist of memory. Story 28. On that particular night, a gentle snowfall descended from the heavens, draping the world in a cloak of pristine white that glistened softly in the pale light of the street lamps. As the night watchman of the ancient museum, I wandered the quiet halls, bearing witness to this ethereal spectacle in utter solitude. The time-worn wooden floors whispered beneath my feet, harmonizing with the faint hum of the heating system. Pausing by a towering window on the second floor, I watched as delicate snowflakes pirouetted through the air before delicately alighting on the earth below. Amidst this serene scene, a curiosity stirred within me as I glimpsed a peculiar sight in the museum's inner courtyard. A figure, shrouded in mystery, moved among the barren trees, yet what truly intrigued me was the absence of any trace left upon the fresh snow. Instinctively, I turned to the surveillance cameras, their bluish glow illuminating the control room. With a meticulous eye, I scanned the monitors, hoping to catch another glimpse of the enigmatic figure. Finally, on a screen displaying the inner courtyard, I discerned a blurry image of the mysterious presence, as if some unseen force was distorting the recording. Determined to unravel the mystery, I ventured downstairs, the silence of the museum enveloping me like a heavy cloak. My footsteps reverberated through the empty corridors, bouncing off the glass display cases that housed precious relics of bygone eras. The air felt charged with a potent energy, a prelude to the inexplicable. Through the glass doors leading to the courtyard, I beheld the snow's ceaseless descent, a hypnotic dance that seemed to conceal secrets within its icy embrace. And there, amidst the swirling flakes, I spotted him once more. A man, or a semblance thereof, draped in shadowy garments that melded with the darkness. He moved with an unearthly grace, gliding noiselessly over the snowy expanse, leaving no trace of his passage. Trembling, I retrieved my flashlight, its beam passing through him like a specter, casting eerie reflections upon the snow. As he turned towards me, his visage indistinct and ephemeral, a primal instinct urged me to keep my distance. Yet, a compelling curiosity drove me to the courtyard door, the chill of the glass beneath my fingertips grounding me in the reality of the moment. The figure approached, the air growing colder around me, my breath materializing in wispy tendrils before me. The temperature plummeted, a frost creeping along the glass, as reality itself seemed to warp in his presence. Behind him, the world seemed to waver, objects losing their solidity as if caught in a spectral tide. The tree's leaves fluttered unnaturally, suspended in a ghostly flux. Halting a few paces away, the figure fixed me with an inscrutable gaze, a sense of profound familiarity washing over me, though our paths had never crossed. Raising a hand towards the glass, his gesture held an otherworldly grace, almost like a salutation. Intricate frost patterns bloomed across the pane, as if inscribing a message in a long-forgotten tongue. Straining to decipher the cryptic symbols, a distant toll of bells momentarily diverted my attention. Upon returning my gaze, the figure had vanished, leaving behind a courtyard untouched by human presence, the glass now adorned with glistening droplets of melted frost. In the ensuing days, I pored over the security footage, finding no trace of the enigmatic man, only the silent descent of snow in the empty courtyard. Yet on nights cloaked in snow and silence, when the museum slumbers beneath a blanket of tranquility, I find myself drawn to that same courtyard door, as if awaiting the return of that enigmatic presence that defies explanation. Sometimes, in the perfect interplay of light and snowfall, I catch a fleeting glimpse of a formless shape drifting among the flakes. In those ephemeral moments, I ponder if our encounter was a harbinger of greater truths, a reminder of the mysteries that elude our understanding, truths that, like that enigmatic figure on the pristine snow, leave no visible trace behind. Story 29. Winter nights hold a unique power over me, especially when the mist blankets the world in a hushed embrace. In my cozy study, cocooned in the softness of a woolen blanket, I watched as the outside world dissolved into a shimmering sea of silver fog. The gentle glow of the lamp on my desk painted dancing shadows on the walls adorned with rows of books. Amid this tranquil scene, a peculiar sight caught my eye in the glass reflection. A small, mysterious, dark wooden box. Intricately carved with ever-shifting patterns, it exuded an uncanny familiarity despite my never having seen it before. There it sat on the edge of my desk that evening, as if it belonged there all along. The wood grain seemed to pulse faintly in the dim light, as if it held a secret life within. With a rustle, I rose from my chair, the blanket slipping to the floor, the wooden floorboards murmuring softly under my weight. As I drew closer, a nostalgic scent of aged wood and beeswax enveloped me, stirring forgotten memories from my childhood. My fingertips grazed the box's surface, finding it unexpectedly warm to the touch. The carvings on it seemed to weave a tale of ever-changing scenes, a moonlit forest, a tempestuous sea, a star-studded sky on an endless night. Seated once more, bathed in the lamp's warm light, I scrutinized every detail of this enigmatic object. And then it struck me with a disquieting revelation. The box, with its shifting carvings, had been a recurrent presence in my dreams in recent weeks. It had appeared in varying settings, yet always emanating the same aura of mystery that now enveloped it in reality. In the stillness of the room, the grandfather clock's ticking slowed, as if time itself paused to watch. The lamp's elongated shadows waltzed across the walls, forming intricate patterns of their own. Taking the box in my hands, I was surprised by its weight, disproportional to its size. Though lacking a visible lock, I sensed there was something significant concealed within. As I examined it, the carvings subtly converged towards the lid's center, forming a pattern hitherto unseen. The wood seemed to quiver under my touch, responding to my presence. The blend of beeswax and an elusive, ancient fragrance intensified, filling the room. And then, a soft, melodious hum emerged from within the box, akin to a long-forgotten lullaby. My eyelids grew heavy unexpectedly, a drowsiness creeping over me as the gentle pulsing of the lamp's light synchronized with the hypnotic hum. When I awoke hours later, still seated at my desk, the fog had lifted, unveiling a starlit night sky beyond the window. The box had vanished, leaving behind a faint imprint on the desk's surface, as if it had stood there for ages. Perplexed, I pondered whether it had all been a dream. But as I prepared to retire for the night, a strange sight caught my eye, a small carving on the back of my hand, resembling those on the box, faintly glowing in the dimness. Since that fateful night, the box has continued to visit me in my dreams, each time with a new purpose. It seems determined to impart a message I have yet to decipher. Every morning, the carving on my hand appears subtly altered, as though it is slowly revealing a hidden truth only time will unveil. I wonder if others have encountered this mysterious box in their dreams, bearing invisible marks of a puzzle that unravels solely in the realm of slumber. The line between dream and reality blurs, leaving me uncertain of where one ends and the other begins. Perhaps that boundary was never truly there, and the box serves as a conduit between two worlds that have always been intimately connected. As I pen these words, the faint scent of beeswax wafts through the air, a reminder that tonight, in the world of dreams, the box awaits me with new revelations to share. Story 30. The night's hush was pierced by a distant, gentle melody. Nestled in my cherished armchair, draped in a woolen blanket, a cup of chamomile tea grown cold beside me, I lifted my gaze from the book cradled in my hands. The music, like ethereal snowflakes, drifted through the air, subtle yet undeniable. A piano, I thought, its tune elusive yet oddly familiar, reminiscent of a dream long forgotten. The house lay shrouded in darkness, save for the soft glow of a lamp casting a circle of warmth around me. Shadows waltzed on the walls to the enigmatic music's cadence. Rising slowly, the blanket cascading to the floor with a gentle murmur, my steps whispered on the wooden planks as I drew near the living room window. Beyond, the night lay tranquil and mute, the full moon bathing the garden in its silvery radiance, revealing the graceful sway of trees in the nocturnal breeze. No stir could be seen in the neighboring abodes, all cloaked in darkness. Yet the music persisted, seeming to emanate from all directions and none simultaneously. I traversed the rooms, each shift altering the melody subtly. In the kitchen, it beckoned from the living room. In the living room, it seemed to originate from the stairs. On the stairs, it descended from the upper floor. A hypnotic play of echoes and reverberations led me in a silent waltz through the familiar confines of my dwelling. Ascending to my bedroom, I noted the slightly ajar door, despite my certain recollection of leaving it wide open that morn. Moonbeams filtered through the gossamer curtains, casting intricate designs upon the floor. The music now rang clearer, more distinct, as if I drew nigh to its wellspring. Pausing at the threshold, I surveyed the room intently. My antique music box, a keepsake from my grandmother that had remained untouched for years, gleamed faintly in the dimness. I approached cautiously, sensing my heart's tempo align with the music's rhythm. The music box, usually dull, now exuded a soft internal luminance. As I extended my hand to touch it, I felt a gentle warmth emanating from its surface. The miniature ballerina pirouetted, her visage transformed, no longer a plain porcelain oval, but a striking likeness of my grandmother's countenance, her familiar smile etched in miniature detail. Our eyes met fleetingly, and the melody shifted, morphing into a lullaby she had sung to me as a child. Transfixed, I stood as the music enveloped me in a comforting embrace, devoid of fear, suffused with tranquility and reminiscence. The notes swelled, then ebbed like the tide's retreat. As the music dwindled to silence, the music box closed with a soft click. A new, pregnant silence settled over the house, pregnant with significance. Descending to my armchair, I retrieved the fallen blanket, cocooning myself once more in its embrace. The book lay open, its words forgotten, as my musings drifted to the music box and my grandmother. I pondered how many melodies lay ensnared within its silent mechanism, awaiting release. Since that night, on rare occasions when the house grows hushed and the moon bathes the garden, a beloved melody wafts through the rooms. I no longer seek its origin, choosing instead to close my eyes and listen, understanding that some mysteries need not be unraveled to be embraced. Story 31. The night lay hushed, cloaked in a shroud of mist that turned the street lamps into faint, distant stars. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I gazed absently at the shadows waltzing across the walls of my study, cast by the flickering candle flame on the side table. The aged wooden floor exuded that familiar, lived-in aroma found only in well-loved homes, while the tranquil air was punctuated by the steady tick-tock of the pendulum clock. In a moment of quiet reflection, a peculiar sight caught my eye. Amid the usual shadows that swayed in harmony with the dancing flame, there was one shadow that moved with a different purpose. While the others pirouetted in sync with the flickering light, this particular shadow seemed to possess its own distinct rhythm, as if it were exploring the wall's surface. Initially dismissing it as a trick of my weary mind, after weeks of late-night work, I closed the book resting in my lap and rose to investigate further. The shadow, sensing my attention, timidly retreated to the room's corner. I approached the wall, scrutinizing its textured surface. Though the irregularities naturally cast minor shadows, the one that had intrigued me was unlike the rest. It appeared denser, more defined, as though it were composed of a tangible substance, rather than mere absence of light. Extending my hand to touch the wall where the shadow had paused, I noticed the spot was unusually cold, chilling compared to the surrounding surface. In the ensuing days, I began to observe other peculiar occurrences. The shadow materialized at varying times, always in my solitude, always when the light was dim enough to birth shadows, yet not so dim that they vanished entirely. Sometimes it lingered in the hallway, other times it appeared in the kitchen, but consistently with that same inquisitive and almost bashful demeanor. One evening, while seated at my desk engrossed in writing, I sensed a presence behind me. It wasn't disquieting like the sensation of being watched, but rather akin to feeling a silent observer, much like a cat. Turning slowly, my gaze landed on the closed door of my study, upon which the shadow was projected. This time it held its ground, observing me in return. It was then that I noticed a detail that had eluded me before. The shadow lacked a source. Every known shadow is cast by something tangible, be it an object, a person, or an animal. Yet this shadow existed independently, as if it were a sentient entity unto itself. I began communicating with it, not through words, but through gestures and motions. It responded in kind, dancing on the wall, shaping forms that almost resembled letters, fleeting before they could be deciphered. At times I sensed a message in the patterns, while others seemed mere whimsical arabesques. With time, its presence became a familiar, almost soothing presence. On nights when sleep evaded me, I found myself seeking it out, anticipating its distinctive movements amid the ordinary shadows. It was akin to having a silent companion, a guardian of the nocturnal hours. The shadow's origins and true nature remained a mystery. Despite my research, consultations with experts in the occult, and perusal of ancient tomes, no definitive explanation emerged. Some speculated it might be a physical aberration, while others mused about residual energy manifestations, yet none fully encapsulated the essence of its existence. Now, as I sit in my armchair penning these words, I observe the shadow's gentle sway at the edge of my vision. It has become a part of my daily existence, a riddle I've come to embrace without needing to unravel. I often ponder if it too contemplates my essence, if I am as enigmatic to it as it is to me. The candle on the side table flickers, its flame dwindling. Soon the shadow will dissolve into the encompassing darkness, awaiting the emergence of a new light to grant it form once more. And I will remain here, anticipating its return, engaged in this silent discourse between a man and a formless shadow. Story 32. I awoke to the sound of a pendulum ticking rhythmically in the darkness. The steady beat reverberated through the stillness, a mechanical pulse guiding the passage of time in this enigmatic realm. Slowly, my eyes fluttered open, revealing a room bathed in the soft, dusky light of twilight. Everything around me was unfamiliar, a tapestry of mystery woven in shadows and whispers. Nestled upon an old burgundy velvet couch, I felt the embrace of time in its soft but weathered fabric. The air carried a scent of antiquity, a blend of aged wood and dried blossoms, intermingled with an elusive fragrance that eluded my recognition. Faint light filtered through heavy brocade curtains, casting ethereal patterns on the faded Victorian wallpaper that adorned the walls. As my gaze adjusted to the dimness, I began to discern the intricate details of the room. Antique dark wood furniture stood stoically in the corners, silent witnesses to bygone eras. A monumental bookshelf dominated one wall, its shelves laden with leather-bound tomes untouched by human hands for generations. On a small table beside the couch, a delicate porcelain teacup cradled what appeared to be freshly brewed tea, wisps of steam rising lazily into the air. I rose languidly, every sinew protesting as if I had slumbered for an eternity. My footsteps, muffled by the plush Persian rug, carried me towards the window. Drawing back the heavy curtains, I beheld a mist-shrouded garden where elusive forms of trees and shrubs swayed gently in the evening zephyr. Startlingly reflected in the glass, I saw myself adorned in garments that were not my own. A pristine white linen shirt, a rich brocade vest, and velvet trousers, tailored in a style of yesteryears. Tremors of unease rippled through me as I touched the unfamiliar fabric, marveling at its fine craftsmanship. A flicker of movement caught my peripheral vision, prompting me to turn towards the room's interior, yet all remained still and silent, save for the relentless pendulum, measuring the moments as if time itself flowed differently within these walls. With a resolve born of curiosity, I decided to venture beyond the confines of the room. The door yielded with a soft, eerie creak, unveiling a long, dim corridor adorned with portraits of unknown visages, their eyes seeming to follow my every step as I tread cautiously forward. Each footfall upon the ancient wooden floor echoed in the profound silence, resonating through the hushed expanse. Ascending a chilling staircase to the upper floor, I found the banister cold to the touch, yet oddly familiar, as if a fragment of a forgotten memory stirred within me. On the upper landing, a series of closed doors lined the hallway, each bearing a brass nameplate inscribed with cryptic lettering that eluded comprehension in the dimness. A haunting melody, delicate piano notes wafting through the air like a spectral whisper, beckoned from the final room at the corridor's end. As I drew closer, the music grew fainter, ethereal and elusive, teasing my senses with its intangible presence. Gently pushing open the last door, I beheld an empty chamber save for a grand piano veiled in a ghostly white shroud. No soul occupied the stool, yet the air vibrated with the echo of the mysterious melody, lingering like a half-remembered dream. Drawing near, I uncovered the piano, unveiling an ancient, yellowed photograph resting upon the ivory keys. In the waning light of dusk, I scrutinized the image, revealing a scene of the same room but from a bygone era. Seated at the piano was a figure that struck a chord of recognition. It was me, clad in the attire I now wore, though the photograph seemed to belong to a century-long past. Descending the staircase once more, an eerie calm settled within me despite the surreal circumstances. The pendulum's hypnotic cadence seemed to sync with the rhythm of my heart as I settled back onto the velvet couch, the tea in the porcelain cup still warm to the touch. Lost in contemplation, I pondered the notion that perhaps I had never truly awakened, or had stepped into a dream woven by another slumber in a distant age. The pendulum ticked on, counting moments in a timeless space that may have never existed, within a house that bore a familiarity deeper than self-awareness. Savoring a sip of the tea, its flavor a balm of recognition, I gazed out at the garden, now enveloped in ethereal fog, blurring the boundaries between reality and reverie. And in that moment, a profound certainty settled upon me. I had found a sanctuary in this enigmatic abode, a place that had awaited my arrival across the veils of time. Story 33. In the hush of the evening, the rain tapped gently on the roof, weaving a mesmerizing song that whispered through the air. Each droplet traced a path down the window, casting playful shadows that danced across the walls of my study. The remnants of a bygone fire lingered in the air, a faint echo of warmth from the night before, while the soft glow of the desk lamp bathed the room in a soothing embrace. Amidst this serene scene, a sound pierced the tranquility, a ringing that should have been impossible. The old rotary phone, a relic from days past, stood silent on the shelf, disconnected long ago in favor of modern technology. Yet its chime, clear as crystal, filled the room with its presence. Setting aside my book, I rose from the plush armchair, the soft rug swallowing the sound of my steps as I approached the ancient phone. The black device, a cherished heirloom from my grandmother, gleamed faintly in the dim light, a silent sentinel of forgotten times. Just as my hand reached out to touch it, the ringing ceased, leaving behind a lingering chill in its wake. The scent of aged Bakelite wafted from the receiver, stirring memories of childhood days spent watching my grandmother dial numbers with precision on the rotating disc. Shaking off the unease creeping into my mind, I turned back towards the comfort of the armchair, only to be greeted by the insistent ring once more. This time, the sound seemed to reverberate with a newfound intensity, demanding attention. Mesmerized, I counted each ring as they echoed through the room. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the fifth, almost without conscious thought, I lifted the receiver. Silence enveloped me, deeper and more profound than before, broken only by the rhythmic patter of rain against the windows. The receiver, cool against my skin, held nothing but emptiness on the other end. No familiar dial tone, no electronic hum, only a void of sound that seemed to echo eternity. And then, a breath. Slow, measured, like a distant echo from the past. The breath on the line held a familiarity that stirred long-buried memories. It carried a cadence reminiscent of my grandmother's nighttime sighs, a comforting presence always within arm's reach. "Hello?" I whispered, the sound barely audible over the persistent rain. The breath seemed to pause, as if contemplating a response. Then, with a weight of sorrow that tugged at my heart, it transformed into a deep, melancholic sigh. I stood transfixed, the receiver pressed to my ear, listening as the breath wove a delicate tapestry of sound, intertwining with the rain's gentle cadence. No fear gripped me, only a curious calmness tinged with nostalgia. It was as though the moment hung suspended between reality and reverie, sharing a silent tale that transcended words. The breathing persisted, punctuated by pregnant pauses that spoke volumes without uttering a single syllable. Slowly, I closed my eyes, allowing the ethereal sounds to envelop me like a familiar cloak. Time seemed to lose its grip as I drifted in that timeless space, until, with a reluctant sigh of my own, I gently returned the receiver to its cradle. The room had shifted in some imperceptible way, the lamp's light now softer, warmer, suffused with the scent of lavender, my grandmother's cherished perfume. As I settled back into the embrace of the armchair, the phone lay silent, yet its presence seemed to hum with a newfound serenity, as if it had imparted a message unspoken. Watching the rain continue its gentle descent outside, mingling with the echoes of memories past, I knew that some connections transcend the physical realm. Since that enigmatic night, the phone has remained still, dormant in its silent vigil. But on rainy evenings, when the world grows quiet and the air shimmers with a hint of nostalgia, I sometimes catch a fleeting whisper, a distant breath that spans across the chasm of time. And in those moments, a smile tugs at my lips, a silent acknowledgement that not all bonds can be severed by the simple act of unplugging a cord from the wall. Story 34. The night had enveloped the ancient house in a soft, velvety shroud of quietness, broken only by the gentle patter of autumn rain tapping against the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, holding a cup of tea that exuded tendrils of steam, my gaze wandered absently to the painting hanging on the wall across from me. An heirloom from my grandmother, it depicted a tranquil woodland scene at dusk. Though not a valuable piece, it possessed a captivating quality that stirred within me a sense of wistful calm. That particular evening, as the golden glow from the floor lamp cast flickering shadows around the room, a peculiar realization dawned upon me. The painting appeared slightly askew to the right, a departure from its usual alignment as I remembered it. Setting down my cup on the nearby table, I rose from my seat, the wooden floor murmuring softly beneath my feet as I drew closer to the wall. With delicate care, I straightened the painting, my fingers grazing the weathered texture of the antique frame. Returning to my seat, I picked up the book I had momentarily abandoned, the warmth of the tea and the soothing melody of the rain outside lulling me into a contented drowsiness. It was only after a brief interval that, raising my eyes, I witnessed the painting now tilted to the left, sending a subtle shiver down my spine. I endeavored to reason with myself that it was a mere trick of exhaustion or a play of light and shadow. Rising from my seat once more, this time with caution, I approached the painting and discerned an anomaly I had not previously noticed. The hues of the sunset seemed more vibrant, almost pulsating, while the tree shadows had elongated compared to before. Tentatively, I reached out to touch the canvas, my fingers trembling. It emitted a warmth as though it had absorbed the room's heat, yet there was a peculiar quality to the way the paint captured the light. In the days that ensued, I found myself increasingly drawn to the painting, attuned to its subtle transformations. Each time I entered the room, it appeared to have shifted ever so slightly. At times, the alteration was scarcely perceptible, while on other occasions it was more pronounced. Not only did its tilt vary, but the details within the painting itself seemed to undergo imperceptible changes. The density of the trees would fluctuate, the clouds in the painted sky altering their formations. I commenced a ritual of photographing the painting every morning and evening, meticulously comparing the images. The variances, though minute, were unmistakable. Within the painted forest, ephemeral details materialized and faded. A nest nestled among the branches, a concealed clearing, a faint path that had not been present before. The sunset in the scene appeared to shift imperceptibly, as if time within the painting flowed at a pace distinct from our own. One exceptionally tranquil evening, while seated in my customary armchair, a movement caught my peripheral vision. The painting was inclining on its own, a motion so gradual as to be nearly imperceptible. Rather than fear, a profound curiosity mingled with a surreal tranquility gripped me. The motion was fluid, akin to a phantom hand tenderly caressing the canvas. I approached the painting once more, this time without hesitation. The surface of the canvas seemed to quiver ever so slightly beneath my gaze. Reflected in the glass shielding the artwork, for a fleeting instant, I fancied I glimpsed a familiar figure. The blurred, ethereal profile of my grandmother, akin to a faded memory, appeared to smile as she adjusted the painting to its proper orientation. Since that moment, I have embraced these subtle alterations as part of the house's enchantment. Each night, before retiring to bed, I devote a few moments to studying the painting, endeavoring to uncover its fresh secrets. At times, I believe it to be my grandmother's way of signaling her enduring presence, overseeing me through this enigmatic canvas that ebbs and flows like a living entity. I have divulged this tale to none, opting to cradle this sweet enigma within my heart. The painting continues to shift its position, though now with less frequency, as if it has struck a harmonious balance between revealing itself and safeguarding its mystery. And so, I find myself ensconced in my armchair each evening, a steaming cup of tea in hand, the rhythmic raindrops drumming against the windows, observing the painting that leads its own existence, engaged in a silent discourse that only we share. Story 35. The dim glow of the candle flickered, casting intricate shadows that danced along the ancient stone walls as I descended the worn steps of the cellar. Each creak of the wooden floor beneath my feet echoed a memory of countless journeys down to retrieve Grandma's treasured preserves. The air held a chill, heavy with the familiar scent of earth and aged wood, transporting me back to the days of my youth. Yet, on this particular evening, a subtle shift lingered in the air. The flame of the candle wavered, untouched by any breeze, while a thin veil of dust blanketed every surface despite my recent visit. The elongated shadows seemed to reach out towards the darkness that awaited at the stairwell's base. Pausing midway down, a peculiar sensation enveloped me. The shelves, typically ending within a few strides, now extended far beyond their usual reach. The feeble candlelight failed to illuminate their distant ends, as if the corridor itself was stretching out before me. Silence enveloped me, broken solely by the rhythmic beat of my heart and the distant trickle of water seeping through the stones. Driven by a curiosity that eclipsed my apprehension, I pressed on. The jars of preserves glimmered faintly in the wavering light, yet their labels bore dates of yesteryears as I progressed. 1980, 1960, 1940. Some so weathered they were unreadable. The air grew colder, carrying a mustiness mingled with a more ancient fragrance, reminiscent of forgotten scrolls. The shelves continued their unfathomable stretch into the depths, revealing walls no longer rough-hewn stone, but intricate bricks adorned with cryptic symbols unknown to me. Pausing before a peculiar shelf, a single jar captured my gaze. Crafted from dark glass that seemed to swallow light instead of reflecting it, the label, surprisingly intact, bore a mystifying date, 1820. Trembling slightly, I raised the jar for a closer inspection. In the cellar's hush, a faint whisper, devoid of words, reached my ears. It resembled the passage of time itself, a gentle rustling like ancient pages stirred by a phantom breeze. Turning slowly, a blurred vision of figures flickered in the shadows, evoking half-formed memories. Sensing a need to depart, I pivoted towards the stairs, but a disquieting realization settled in. The distance I had traversed had inexplicably multiplied, the beckoning light above now distant and faint, akin to a lone star in the abyss of night. Striving to remain composed, I ascended, counting each step, a childhood reflex. The shelves metamorphosed once more, transitioning back to the familiar cellar landscape. The enigmatic 1820 jar remained in my grasp, a tangible reassurance of the surreal journey. Reaching the summit, the warm kitchen light embraced me, comforting like a long-lost friend. Placing the jar on the initial step, I stole a final glance into the darkened cellar's depths. A fleeting movement caught my eye, a distorted shift in time and space itself. That night, seated at the kitchen table, with a steaming cup of tea cradled in my hands, I pondered the inexplicable events. The jar now bore a mundane label, Blackberry Jam 2023, yet upon opening it, a fragrance unlike any other wafted forth. It was the essence of time, sweet and ancient, akin to a cherished memory from childhood. Since that peculiar evening, every descent into the cellar beckoned a whisper of possibility. The stairs remained constant, the shelves stocked with familiar preserves, yet beneath the dim glow and profound silence, an unspoken invitation lingered. Perhaps one day, bolstered by courage, I would dare to venture down that infinite corridor to its conclusion, to unearth the enigmatic truths where time itself unravels its mysteries. Story 36. The rain cascaded down with a mesmerizing cadence on the roof of the dwelling, weaving a natural symphony that enveloped the quietude of the night. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of now chilled chamomile tea in my hands, I found myself idly entranced by this soothing melody when a peculiar anomaly seized my attention. Amidst the pitter-patter of raindrops, a subtle, nearly imperceptible sound emerged, faint footsteps echoing as though emanating from the depths of the basement below. Initially, I dismissed it as the customary settling of the aged abode. Such old structures possess a unique voice, a language of their own, communicated through gentle creaks and murmurs. And my dwelling was no exception, especially on damp nights when the moisture would coax the wooden framework to emit its own peculiar sounds. Yet there was an uncanny quality to the rhythm of these noises, as though they followed a deliberate pattern, a cadence that bore an unsettling resemblance to human footfalls. With deliberate languor, I rose from my seat, setting the cup down on the petite table beside me. The wooden floor beneath my feet exuded a residual warmth, a remnant of the day's heating. Stepping closer to the door leading to the basement, I discerned a gradual chill pervading the air, as if an icy breath were wafting up from the stairwell below. The brass handle, when touched, sent a shiver through my hand, and as I turned it, a resonant click reverberated through the silent expanse of the house. The staircase descending into darkness awaited, faintly lit by a bluish glow filtering through the modest skylight above. Step by cautious step, I descended, my own footfalls melding with the enigmatic ones that had captivated my senses earlier. The distinct aroma of the basement, a blend of aged timber, damp soil, and an indefinable essence, grew more potent with each stride downwards. In the subterranean chamber, shadows cavorted upon the walls whenever the lightning briefly illuminated the skylight. Laden shelves adorned with antiquated artifacts cast twisted silhouettes that seemed to dance in synchrony with the rain's beat. It was then that I espied something peculiar. Upon the dusty floor, there lingered footprints. These were no ordinary imprints. Rather, they appeared as faint traces of moisture, as if an individual with damp soles had wandered in circular motions at the room's center. Intrigued, I approached the enigmatic marks, attempting to decipher their origin. The skylight remained intact, and there were no signs of water seepage. While scrutinizing these mysterious tracks, a movement in the shadowy recesses of the basement snagged my peripheral vision. In the darkest alcove, where light seldom ventured, a subtle stirring seemed to unfold at a glacial pace. My heart quickened slightly, though not from fear. Rather, a blend of curiosity and an inexplicable sense of recognition seized me. Advancing towards the dim recess, the chill in the air intensified. The echo of footsteps, heard from above, returned, yet this time it was unmistakable that they emanated from all directions, as though an unseen entity traversed every nook of the chamber simultaneously. It was then that a peculiar realization dawned upon me. The footprints on the floor bore a deliberate arrangement, forming a spiral that converged towards the room's epicenter. As my gaze traced this spiral pathway, I noted that the freshest imprints, those nearest the core, remained moist, as if freshly etched into existence. Immobile, I stood transfixed for what seemed an eternity, observing as these traces slowly dissipated, evaporating into the frigid basement atmosphere. The echoes of footsteps dwindled to near silence, merging seamlessly with the persistent patter of rain outside. Ascending the stairs once more, an inexplicable serenity enveloped me, as if I had borne witness to an ancient, mystifying ritual that had echoed through the house's depths since time immemorial. That night, as I readied myself for slumber, I discerned a change in the rain's melody upon the roof. No longer a mere random cascade, it seemed to mirror the rhythmic cadence of the footsteps resonating from the basement. Drifting into sleep with this melodic refrain in my ears, I pondered whether the footsteps would return on the morrow, and if I would summon the courage to await their reappearance, to unveil the enigma behind those ephemeral footprints in the dust. Story 37. The weariness of a long day clung to me as I entered my study. The soft amber glow of the desk lamp created gentle shadows on the walls adorned with shelves of old books. The familiar scent of aged paper and ink embraced me as I sank into my worn leather armchair. Resting on the polished wooden desk was my cherished old diary, a gift from my grandmother. its brown leather cover and yellowed pages holding my deepest thoughts. As I reached out to open it, a peculiar sight caught my eye. The last page I had written was no longer blank. Delicate handwriting, unlike my own, filled the page with words I didn't recall writing. The ink appeared fresh, as if just penned. Intrigued, I leaned in, my breath slowing. The words painted a vivid picture of an autumn evening, detailing the very room I sat in. The gentle patter of rain against the window pane added a soothing rhythm to the atmosphere, blending with the soft rustling of pages stirred by an unseen breeze. The lamp flickered, casting dancing shadows around me. Spellbound, I continued reading as the mysterious prose seemed to anticipate my every move. Curiosity urged him to turn the page, the text beckoned, and as if compelled, my fingers obeyed, flipping to the next sheet. A jolt coursed through me as new words materialized before my eyes, as though an invisible hand scripted in real time. The ink flowed effortlessly, capturing my sensations with eerie accuracy. The warmth of the lamp on my skin, the deepening of my breath, even the subtle shiver down my spine. Standing, I couldn't tear my gaze from the pages filling with words. The sentences now described the books on the shelves, mentioning titles I didn't recall owning, yet upon inspection, found present. The writing maintained a hypnotic cadence, akin to a silent clock's pendulum marking time in the room. Sitting back down on the nearby couch, I observed the diary on the desk, its pages gently shifting. The rain's rhythm intensified, cocooning me in a barrier of sound that isolated me from the outside world. The room seemed to embrace me, its mystery carving out a separate space from reality. Closing my eyes, I let the rain's melody lull me. Upon opening them, the diary remained, but a change had taken place. The words now delved into personal memories, unshared moments from my past. With measured steps, I approached the desk, the words evolving into a conversation rather than a narrative. It felt as though the diary sought to connect with me through my own recollections. As the night progressed, the silent exchange unearthed deeper revelations. Curiosity mingled with peace, guiding me through this enigmatic dialogue. Each word felt like a step towards unraveling a profound truth just beyond reach. When the clock struck midnight, I realized I had been transfixed for hours, engrossed in this otherworldly communion with the diary. The final words on the page resonated. Some mysteries don't need solving to be understood. Closing the diary gently, I felt the familiar leather cover beneath my fingertips. The rain outside now felt like a companion rather than background noise. Would the words remain come morning, or fade like a dream upon waking? Before retiring for the night, I stole a final glance at the study. The diary lay innocently on the desk, yet something had shifted within me. The pages, though still, had opened a pathway to a profound understanding, eluding definition. Night descended, enveloping the room in silence, the amber light of the lamp bearing witness to a mystery without a clear resolution. Closing the door, I pondered that perhaps some mysteries hold more value when left unsolved. Story 38. Once upon a time, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a peculiar phenomenon captured my attention. It was a tranquil autumn evening, and I found myself engrossed in the pages of an ancient tome within the confines of my study. The fading light filtering through the window began to dwindle in a manner that seemed out of the ordinary. Looking up, I beheld a sight that defied explanation. The sky above my humble abode was slowly cloaked in darkness, while the surroundings basked in the warm glow of twilight. A subtle yet distinct contrast unfolded before my eyes, as if an unseen veil had chosen to linger solely over the roof of my dwelling. The air carried the scent of moist earth and fallen leaves, while a gentle breeze caused the lace curtains to sway in a mesmerizing dance. Their soft rustling produced a soothing melody that harmonized with the enigmatic spectacle unfolding outside. In the ensuing days, the mysterious occurrence repeated itself without fail. Each evening, as the sun embarked on its descent, that particular slice of sky directly above my dwelling assumed darker hues compared to the rest of the celestial expanse. It was akin to a square of the heavens being painted with strokes of charcoal and midnight blue, creating a surreal juxtaposition against the vibrant azure backdrop. I found myself captivated by this nightly display, ensconced in an antique velvet armchair by the window. The aged wooden floor whispered faintly under my shifting weight as I monitored the progression of this celestial anomaly. The room's atmosphere grew cooler, and a delicate film of condensation adorned the window panes, giving rise to abstract patterns that seemed to waltz with the shadows. One day, while deeply engrossed in contemplation of this enigma, a new revelation dawned upon me. Amidst the darkened canvas above, tiny pinpricks of light flickered into existence and vanished, resembling stars that chose to twinkle solely for my benefit. Their erratic movements, devoid of any discernible pattern, possessed a hypnotic quality, almost akin to a musical cadence. The silence enveloping the house amplified their presence, while the rhythmic ticking of the pendulum clock in the hallway seemed to synchronize with their ethereal dance. As the weeks elapsed, I began to discern subtle reactions from the objects within my abode to this inexplicable phenomenon. The antique mirrors cast reflections imbued with a softer, more embracing luminosity. Shadows elongated in peculiar configurations, evoking ancient symbols in their wake. The flora adorning the windowsill thrived with increased vigor during these moments of selective dimness, as if drawing sustenance from that twilight realm. On a particular evening, while seated in my study, a gentle touch graced my shoulder, akin to a caress borne on the breeze. Startled, I turned around, only to find emptiness greeting me. The fragrance of aged manuscripts and weathered timber permeating the room intensified, momentarily suspending time itself. The muted chimes of the clock persisted, albeit seeming to emanate from a distant realm. Prompted by these occurrences, I commenced documenting each subtle shift in the darkness's intensity and the accompanying phenomena in a journal. Pages brimmed with meticulous descriptions detailing the fluctuations of light, the dance of shadows, and the subtle vibrancy resonating within the air. My script evolved into a graceful, flowing cursive during these moments, as if guided by an unseen, gentle hand. On the stillest nights, a melody seemed to emanate from that swath of darkened firmament. It defied verbal description, manifesting as a sensation that reverberated within my soul. It was as though the darkness enshrined an ancient symphony, a celestial lullaby audible solely to my dwelling. Gradually, I learned to embrace this enigma rather than succumb to trepidation. My abode had transformed into a conduit, bridging the mundane world with something grander, something profound. While the world outside adhered to its routine, I found myself enveloped in the embrace of these gentle shadows each evening, immersed in the interplay of light and darkness that appeared tailored exclusively for me. Thus, night after night, I bore witness to the firmament darkening solely above my dwelling, cognizant that certain mysteries warranted not unraveling, but experiencing. My residence had metamorphosed into a sanctuary of marvel, a realm where the ordinary intertwined seamlessly with the extraordinary in an eternal ballet of light and shadow, reality and reverie. Story 39. The night had enveloped the house in a cocoon of profound quiet, broken only by the soft tap-tap-tap of raindrops on the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I gazed as the shadows waltzed across the walls, in perfect sync with the flickering firelight from the hearth. The warmth draped around me like a snug blanket, while the aroma of burning wood intertwined with the fragrance of vanilla tea cradled in my hands. In that moment of utter peace, a hint of peculiarity caught my eye in my niece's toy sanctuary, peeking through the slightly ajar door. An antique porcelain music box, a keepsake from Grandma, seemed to emit a delicate bluish radiance. I couldn't recall it ever gleaming like that before. Slowly, I stood from the armchair, placing the teacup on the wooden side table. My footfalls on the floor created a gentle creak that harmonized with the rain's cadence, weaving an almost hypnotic tune. Drawing nearer to the door, the glow intensified yet retained its softness, akin to moonbeams caressing tranquil waters. The toy room was a haven of reminiscences and enchantment. Weathered wooden shelves cradled Victorian-clad porcelain dolls, vibrant toy locomotives, and plush animals with gentle gazes. The music box occupied a central spot on the shelf, encircled by tiny crystals my niece had gathered during her garden strolls. The porcelain ballerina atop the music box, typically frozen in time, swayed ever so slightly, as if brushed by an unseen breeze. Approaching, I noticed the room's temperature markedly cooler than the rest of the house. My breath materialized in small puffs in the air, while the crystals encircling the music box seemed to dance with its light, painting miniature rainbows on the walls. The ballerina continued her almost imperceptible motions, and I could almost discern a faint melody in the distance, a musical whisper from a bygone era. Reaching out towards the music box, the blue light pulsed gently. The other dolls on the shelf seemed to have turned their heads to peek at me, but with a blink they resumed their original poses. The melody grew clearer. It was Grandma's cherished lullaby, a tune I believed had slipped from memory. The music box initiated a slow, self-propelled rotation. The ballerina pirouetted with an unearthly grace, her movements fluid like a true dancer's. The crystals now cast intricate patterns on the ceiling, weaving tales of eras long past. The room became thick with recollections, as if time itself had condensed around that mystical trinket. I stood transfixed, spellbound by the scene. The music melded with the rain's rhythm, crafting a symphony of longing and veiled mysteries. The room's shadows seemed to sway to the melody, and for an instant, I sensed I was not alone in witnessing this private spectacle. Gradually, the melody waned, slipping away like a fleeting dream at dawn. The blue light from the music box dimmed to a faint glow, and the ballerina ceased her dance, frozen once more. Silence reclaimed the room, but it was a different hush, laden with significance and enigma. Returning to my armchair, I lifted my tepid tea. Watching the final embers in the fireplace, I ruminated on Grandma and her affinity for objects steeped in tales. I pondered if she had encountered something akin, if the music box had always harbored that enchantment, or if it was a unique gift meant for specific moments and select witnesses. Since that night, whenever I wander past the toy room, I steal a glance at the music box. Sometimes, a fleeting bluish glow or the initial notes of that forgotten lullaby seem to beckon. Yet, perhaps it's merely memories pirouetting in my mind, akin to that porcelain ballerina on that rainy night. Story 40. The gentle breeze whispered through the evening, carrying the delicate fragrance of night-blooming flowers from the garden. Nestled in my beloved armchair, I gazed absently at the shadows gracefully waltzing across the walls of the living room, their movements choreographed by the flickering glow of a solitary candle. Resting on the small table beside me was my trusty old Polaroid camera, a treasured heirloom gifted by my grandmother long ago. Though it had been ages since I had last wielded its power, a mysterious urge stirred within me to pick it up on this particular night. The familiar weight of the camera in my hands brought a sense of solace as I examined it in the dim light. My fingers instinctively gravitated towards the shutter button, a motion ingrained through countless snapshots taken in the past. Without deliberation, I aimed the lens towards the darkest corner of the room and clicked. In an instant, the flash briefly illuminated the space, followed by the familiar mechanical hum as the photograph slowly materialized. Patiently, I awaited the image to form, witnessing the colors gradually emerge on the blank canvas. And then, a peculiar sight caught my eye. Within the captured frame, nestled in the corner I had focused on, an ethereal figure materialized. Indistinct yet present, it hovered like a wisp of smoke, faintly resembling a human shape. A surge of curiosity compelled me to glance towards the corner in reality, only to find emptiness. Intrigued, I took another shot in the same direction. This time, the figure manifested with more clarity, appearing to have moved nearer to the lens. A vague outline of a face emerged, its features blurred and enigmatic. A subtle chill crept down my spine, not born of fear, but rather a reverent fascination. Hypnotized by the unfolding mystery, I continued capturing photograph after photograph. With each click, the enigmatic figure drew closer, gradually sharpening in definition. It was as though it used the photographs as a conduit to materialize, each exposure granting it more substance in our world. The once nebulous contours began to solidify, unveiling what seemed to be a vintage attire, reminiscent of a bygone era. A profound silence descended upon the room, thickening the air with an unseen presence that lingered palpably. The temperature dipped imperceptibly, and the candle flame flickered without a whisper of wind. Entranced, I persisted in my photographic exploration, each shot a step deeper into this silent communion. In the final photograph of that mystical evening, the figure loomed so close that it nearly filled the frame. A gentle smile graced the woman's countenance, her eyes seemingly peering directly into mine through the glossy surface of the Polaroid. A sense of familiarity washed over me, stirring dormant memories from my youth. It was only when I rose to retrieve an aged photo album that I noticed a subtle tremor in my hands. Leafing through the yellowed pages, I unearthed the revelation I sought, a vintage snapshot of my grandmother as a young woman, captured with the very same Polaroid. The mirrored smile, the identical expression that had been frozen in the last photograph, connected the dots of the uncanny encounter. Methodically arranging the photographs from that mystical night on the small table, I arranged them in chronological order. As I beheld the visual narrative they collectively wove, a silent tale unfurled, a bridge spanning two worlds, crafted through the lens of an ancient camera. I harbored no desire to replicate the experience, and the Polaroid found its resting place back on the shelf. Yet even now, on serene evenings suffused with the golden hues of twilight, I revisit those images. At times it appears as though the smile in the photograph subtly shifts, as if my grandmother were endeavoring to convey a message across the veil of time. In those fleeting moments, the boundary between memories and reality wavers, akin to the delicate surface of a freshly developed Polaroid, where the past and present converge in a mysterious dance of whispers and shadows. Story 41. The fall garden lay cloaked in a delicate shroud of mist on that morning when I gathered the fallen leaves, a task made tranquil by the cool caress of the air against my skin. The scent of moist earth and chrysanthemums lingered, a gentle reminder of the passage of time. Silence enveloped the surroundings, broken only by the soft rustle of dry leaves underfoot and the occasional melody of an early bird. As I raked near the weathered stone bench, a faint glimmer amidst the foliage caught my eye. A subtle shine, akin to a dewdrop capturing a sunbeam, beckoned me closer. Stooping down, I brushed aside the damp leaves to reveal an antique necklace. The intricate craftsmanship of the oval pendant, adorned with floral motifs and a mesmerizing blue gem at its center, captivated me. The piece exuded a sense of timelessness, a beauty unfamiliar to me. Living solitary in that house for over 2 decades, I knew it did not belong to any acquaintance. The blue gem held a peculiar luminosity, as though possessing a light of its own. That night, after delicately cleansing the necklace, I placed it on the nightstand beside my bed. Falling asleep, I observed the moonlight dance upon its surface, casting ethereal shadows on the walls. Throughout the night, I stirred from slumber, catching whispers of a distant melody, akin to a music box playing in the depths of the house, a sweet, melancholic tune that faded upon my consciousness. Come morning, I noted the necklace had shifted on the nightstand, as if moved in the night. In daylight, the blue gem appeared dimmer, yet a subtle warmth emanated from the metal, a departure from its previous chill. Intrigued, I delved into research on its origins. In the ensuing days, subtle alterations within the house unfolded. Objects on the kitchen table seemed rearranged each morning, family photos askew on the hallway wall, and the nocturnal melody grew more distinct, though elusive in its source. One evening, while engrossed in a book with the necklace nearby, I distinctly heard light footsteps from above. Soft, delicate steps, akin to a child treading softly. Ascending the stairs cautiously, I found no one. Yet in the guest room turned storage, a forgotten wooden box caught my eye. Adorned with matching floral patterns, it cradled a photograph of a young woman donning an identical necklace. On its back, a date and faded inscription read, "To remember the happy days in the garden." Thereafter, the music box melody became a regular occurrence, a soothing presence within the house, a lullaby echoing through the quiet hours of night. Sometimes, in the autumn garden's twilight, a faint figure seemed to flit among the trees, a specter of memory yearning to materialize. The woman in the photograph and the necklace's origins remained elusive mysteries. I embraced their enigmatic presence, akin to the changing seasons and the relentless march of time. The necklace continues to rest upon my nightstand, and on the stillest nights, under the full moon's glow and the whisper of the wind, distant laughter mingles with the music box's melody, a fleeting echo of joyous days lost to the vagaries of time. Story 42. The rain tapped gently on the windows of the cozy establishment, creating a serene melody that harmonized with the soft clinking of cups and the murmurs of the few lingering patrons. Seated at the bar, I observed the play of dim lights dancing across the glossy surface of the dark wood. Jack, the bartender, polished glasses with deliberate, almost mesmerizing movements. That evening, there was a shift in his gaze, a depth I hadn't noticed in my previous visits. His dark eyes seemed to harbor unspoken thoughts while preparing my usual lavender tea. His hands, though precise as ever, betrayed a slight tremor when he placed the cup before me. The delicate fragrance of lavender mingled with the scent of coffee and aged wood, creating a tapestry of aroma in the air. Jack's eyes darted toward a secluded table in the far corner, where a solitary figure sat motionless, blending into the shadows like a specter. Approaching to refill my cup, Jack's movements were measured, his voice carrying a subtle tension as he inquired if I desired anything else. It was then that I noticed a disquieting detail. A faint reddish stain marred the cuff of his otherwise pristine white shirt, barely visible in the dim ambience. As the hours slipped by to the hypnotic rhythm of the rain, the other patrons departed one by one, leaving behind vacant chairs and abandoned cups. Only the enigmatic figure in the corner remained, a silent sentinel awaiting something or someone. Jack meticulously organized the counter, each gesture hinting at a growing unease, while the pendulum clock's relentless ticking underscored the passage of time. Amidst his meticulous arrangements, I spied a weathered notebook tucked beneath the bottles, its pages yellowed and filled with tiny, orderly script. Names, dates, places flowed in meticulous succession, but it was the final pages that captivated me. Cryptic notations, nonsensical numbers, and meticulously drawn symbols. The sound of footsteps drew my attention upward. The mysterious figure had finally stirred from their seat, making their way towards the exit. A wordless exchange passed between them and Jack, laden with unspoken tension. With a barely perceptible nod, the stranger vanished into the rainy night. Jack resumed his duties, yet there was a subtle shift in his demeanor. His hands, typically steady, trembled imperceptibly as he stowed away the glasses. His gaze wandered as if lost in a sea of distant memories, struggling to recollect something significant, or perhaps to bury it. As I prepared to depart, Jack halted me with a gentle gesture. In a hushed, deliberate tone, he divulged, "There are sights and sounds a bartender bears witness to, things best left shrouded by these walls' silence. Yet, at times, the burden of these hidden truths grows too heavy to bear alone." He paused as if measuring the weight of his confessions. Turning towards him, I noted the play of shadows cast by flickering lamplight on his weary countenance. The notebook lingered, a silent witness to untold secrets nestled among the bottles. Jack offered a faint, strained smile, one that failed to reach his eyes. "Return tomorrow," he murmured. "Perhaps a tale will be shared, or perhaps not." Stepping into the night's embrace, rain still whispering softly, I glimpsed Jack resuming his meticulous routine through the window. Yet beneath those habitual motions, I sensed a deeper current, a mystery that may forever elude my grasp. The establishment's lights dimmed as I departed, allowing darkness to enshroud the enigmatic secrets harbored within those walls. I pondered how many similar stories lay concealed behind bar counters, how many silent sentinels like Jack safeguarded burdensome truths. The answer, however, dissolved into the soothing patter of the rain, a constant presence in the starless night. Story 43. The heavy rain drummed a hypnotic melody on the roof of my aged country home, setting the stage for yet another solitary evening. Droplets raced down the window panes, etching sinuous patterns that swayed in the flickering candlelight I had kindled to combat encroaching darkness. A gentle breeze swept through the garden, causing the leaves to murmur in a natural lullaby. Nestled in my beloved armchair, cradling a steaming cup of tea, I absent-mindedly watched wisps of vapor spiral into the air. The house murmured its usual nocturnal symphony, the faint groans of settling timber, the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock in the foyer, the soft whispers of wind sneaking through unseen crevices. All appeared ordinary, yet an intangible disquietude began to infiltrate my tranquil evening. It was during a sip of tea that I discerned a peculiar anomaly. The upstairs bedroom window, reflected in the hallway mirror, emitted an eerie luminescence, akin to a candle's flickering flame. But I knew, beyond a shadow of doubt, that no light illuminated that room. Rising languidly, I placed the teacup on the nearby table and embarked on a journey up the creaking staircase, a path well trodden after years of residency within these walls. However, on that particular night, each creak sounded distinct, as though the house itself sought to convey a message. The air grew chillier as I ascended, a fine mist clinging to the walls of the upper corridor. Upon reaching the bedroom threshold, I hesitated before pushing open the door. The brass handle felt unusually frigid, almost icy to the touch. With a faint squeak, the door yielded, revealing the chamber ensconced in shadows. The window, the same one reflected in the mirror, remained shut. Yet, to my astonishment, the lock began to shift of its own accord, creeping open as if nudged by invisible hands. The gradual parting of the window defied logical explanation, for the breeze entering was insufficient to provoke such movement. The air that infiltrated bore an ancient, sweet fragrance, reminiscent of dried blossoms and weathered timber. Drawing closer to the window, I observed raindrops pirouetting into the room, forming intricate patterns on the wooden sill. Notably, these drops defied gravity, swirling in midair before alighting gently on the floor. While entranced by this inexplicable spectacle, a movement seized my notice. Letters materialized on the fogged glass as if an unseen finger inscribed a cryptic message. Though the words coalesced gradually, they remained too blurred for decipherment. The curtains swayed softly, bereft of any discernible draft, their motion akin to the tranquil respiration of a slumbering being. Moonlight, filtered through rain-laden clouds, cast ethereal shadows on the walls, silent narrators of untold tales. Extending a hand towards the window, I felt the cool breath of the night air caress my fingers. At the brink of contact, the window closed with a deliberate gentleness, echoing the unhurried manner in which it had opened. The latch clicked discreetly, dispersing the lingering ancient aroma that had pervaded the room. Immobilized, I lingered for moments on end, attuned to the persistent patter of rain outside. The room had reverted to its customary appearance, yet a subtle metamorphosis had occurred. It was as though the house sought to unveil a fragment of an alternate realm, glimpsed only in those fleeting instants when the boundary between reality and enigma thins to a gossamer veil. Since that fateful night, whenever rain descends, I recline in my armchair, fixating on the mirrored reflection of the window. At times it remains motionless, other times it yields to a gradual opening, a silent ritual now interwoven into the fabric of my existence. The enigma of this phenomenon remains unsolved, yet I have embraced it as an enigmatic facet of my abode, a clandestine pact between myself and these age-old walls. On the stillest of nights, when the zephyr whispers through the trees and the rain descends in soft cadence, I almost sense a familiar presence, a spectral guardian observing from the shadows, revealed through a window that opens of its own volition. Story 44. The soft glow of the moon seeped through the delicate curtains, casting ethereal shadows that danced upon the weathered wooden floor. Nestled in the stillness of the night, I found myself drawn to my cherished armchair, where my eyes landed upon the ancient mahogany box perched on the mantelpiece. This box had been a fixture in my life ever since I inherited the house from my grandmother, yet I had never dared to peek inside its secrets. Its lustrous exterior faintly shimmered in the moon's embrace, while its intricate carvings appeared to shift ever so subtly in the darkness. Never before had I witnessed the box open, not even during my grandmother's time. It had always been a silent sentinel, a mere ornament that hovered on the periphery of my consciousness, much like a painting one gazes upon daily without truly seeing. But on that peculiar night, a shift occurred. Perhaps it was the way the moonlight played upon the inlays, or maybe it was the profound hush that enveloped the room like a comforting shroud. With a deliberate slowness, I rose from my seat, the wool of my sweater grazing the backrest in a room steeped in reverence. Each step I took towards the mantelpiece echoed softly on the creaking wooden floor. The air felt heavier as I drew near to the box, as if a subtle, unseen mist had materialized around it. My fingertips grazed the warm mahogany surface, almost pulsating with life beneath my touch. The intricate patterns etched upon it depicted interwoven leaves and branches, so exquisitely crafted that they seemed to stir with a hidden vitality. For the first time, I noticed a minute detail I had previously overlooked. Nestled among the carvings on the lid was a minuscule eye, concealed within the ornate design. As I examined the box more intently, a faint, ancient fragrance wafted through the air. It bore hints of sandalwood, yet carried a mysterious undertone that eluded my senses. A wave of nostalgia washed over me, conjuring hazy recollections of a woman with a gentle smile, placing something within the box while murmuring indecipherable words. The distant sound of the wind against the window panes snapped me back to reality. I realized my hands trembled ever so slightly as they traced the edges of the box. Though lacking a visible lock, I knew deep down that it had remained unopened. Or had it? Memories of my childhood in this house suddenly felt jumbled, as if the pages of time had been shuffled. Seating myself on the sofa, I cradled the box in my lap. Surprisingly light, it almost felt empty, yet a subtle movement within hinted at an intangible presence, akin to a fleeting shadow rather than a tangible object. The warmth emanating from it intensified in my grasp, and for a fleeting instant I felt as though the tiny carved eye was observing me. A tremor of recognition rippled through me, not of fear, but of a peculiar familiarity, akin to recognizing a face in a dream. As I gazed at the box, fragments of my grandmother's enigmatic words resurfaced. Though she had never spoken of the box, her cryptic utterance before her passing echoed in my mind. Some questions find answers only when we cease to seek them. In the profound silence of the night, cradling the enigmatic box in my hands, the significance of her words began to unfurl. Shadows elongated and waltzed across the walls, mirroring the intricate motifs of the box. The scent grew more potent, enveloping me in its hypnotic embrace. I pondered the countless generations that had passed through this house, each beholding the box without ever unveiling its mysteries. Did it truly matter what lay within? Gently placing the box back on the mantelpiece, I sensed a subtle shift in its demeanor. The tiny carved eye now appeared to smile, as if in quiet approval of my choice. Settling back into my armchair, a peculiar tranquility washed over me. Some enigmas, once understood, do not beckon to be solved, but rather to be safeguarded. The moon's gentle light continued to bathe the room in its luminance, while the silence of the night deepened, imbued with a profound significance. With a sense of calm descending upon me, I closed my eyes, allowing the lingering fragrance of the box to lull me towards slumber. In that tranquil threshold between wakefulness and dreams, a faint sound seemed to emanate from the mantelpiece. A sigh, a whisper, or perchance the wind toying with the curtains. The box remained perched there, a silent sentinel of its enigmas, a fragment of a mystery that perhaps required no unraveling. And in that realization, a newfound serenity enveloped me, like a comforting embrace from the shadows of the night. Story 45. The night was wrapped in a serene hush, broken only by the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the rhythmic ticking of the kitchen clock. In the stillness of 2 a.m., I found solace on my couch, feeling as though the world existed solely for me in that moment. The soft glow of the reading lamp painted delicate shadows on the walls, while wisps of steam from my chamomile tea waltzed lazily through the air. It was amidst this tranquil backdrop that a peculiar detail caught my eye about the apartment adjacent to mine. For 6 months, I had never seen anyone enter or exit that door. No sounds had ever emanated from within. No lights had ever pierced the darkness. Yet, on that particular night, a faint light seeped from beneath the door, akin to the flicker of a candle. Intrigued, I rose from the couch, compelled by this unexpected anomaly. Setting my cup down on the coffee table, I approached the dividing wall between our dwellings. I pressed my ear against the cool surface, straining to catch any hint of noise. The silence was profound, yet an inexplicable heaviness lingered in the air. Resuming my routine, I found myself increasingly drawn to the neighboring apartment in the days that followed. Subtle observations that had eluded me before now captured my attention. The absence of accumulating mail, the pristine doorknob amidst dusty surroundings, and on quiet nights, a faint rustling that hinted at elusive movements. Curiosity insinuated itself into my thoughts like a creeping vine, compelling me to delve deeper. Delving into the building's history, I uncovered that the apartment had been leased for 2 decades, yet the identity of its inhabitants remained shrouded in mystery. The elderly janitor, his face etched with kindness, disclosed how rent arrived monthly in an anonymous envelope left in his mailbox. One night, in the midst of half-slumber, the haunting strains of a piano drifted from the neighboring wall. The notes, so ethereal, seemed more a figment of memory than reality, a melody of ages past, woven with melancholy and anticipation. Stirred from my bed, I pressed my ear to the barrier once more. The music ceased abruptly, leaving only the frantic thrum of my own heart in the ensuing silence. The following morning, I encountered the woman from the upstairs abode descending the stairs. Inquiring about the nocturnal melody, she regarded me with a mix of pity and understanding, revealing that no piano had ever graced that apartment. Her father, the architect of the building, had designed the space too compact for such an instrument. Rather than quelling my inquisitiveness, this revelation stoked the embers of my intrigue. Further oddities came to light. When the building's heat permeated every crevice on winter evenings, no warmth escaped from beneath that particular door. On rainy days, while neighboring doormats soaked from wet shoes, the one outside that enigmatic residence remained perpetually dry. One evening, returning home late, I found the door slightly ajar for the first time. I stood rooted to the spot, heart drumming in my chest. A faint glow emanated from within, mirroring the radiance I had glimpsed months earlier. Torn between curiosity and trepidation, I hesitated at the threshold. After an eternity of indecision, I retreated. Some enigmas are best left unsolved, questions best left unasked. The next morning, as I departed for work, the neighboring door stood closed, as if nothing had transpired. Since that night, whenever I return late, I pause before that mysterious door. Sometimes a distant melody drifts through the air, other times a flickering light dances within. I have refrained from delving further into the enigma that shrouds that apartment. Instead, I have learned to embrace the mystery, to find solace in the silent presence that dwells beyond the barrier. In a world obsessed with explanations and classifications, is there not a certain comfort in acknowledging the existence of realms that defy our comprehension? Story 46. The rain tapped a soothing melody on the roof of the ancestral home, lulling me into a tranquil state as I sifted through the remnants of my grandmother's legacy. Nostalgia hung heavy in the air, mingling with the fragrance of aged wood and swirling dust particles basking in the warm glow of the setting sun seeping through the cream drapes. Each item unearthed seemed to whisper tales of days long gone, painting vivid memories of yesteryears. And then, in the final box, nestled a weathered leather-bound photo album. Its edges frayed with time, yet the supple touch of its cover held a timeless softness that beckoned my fingertips. Placing the album gently on the antique oak table in the living room, I delved into its pages, releasing a faint aroma of mold and aged paper. The monochrome photographs chronicled snippets of familial joy, weddings, birthdays, carefree summer escapades. A smile graced my lips as I recognized the youthful visages of my ancestors, tracing resemblances through the generations. The rustle of pages harmonized with the rhythmic pattering of rain against the window panes. Pausing at a photo captured in the garden, a summer luncheon frozen in time, my gaze settled on my radiant grandmother and her siblings. Yet a mysterious figure stood at a distance, clad in a flowing dress that grazed the ankles, face veiled by the shadow of a broad-brimmed hat. This enigmatic presence, unfamiliar in the tapestry of family lore, piqued my curiosity. Removing the photograph for a closer inspection, a chill breeze swept through the room, billowing the curtains. Night descended, casting a veil of uncertainty over the scene, prompting me to illuminate the room with a soft, amber glow from the vintage table lamp. Under the new light, a disquieting revelation emerged. The shadow cast by the unknown woman defied the natural order, diverging from the rest. A faint recollection surfaced, a hushed exchange between my mother and aunt, alluding to a vanished visitor shrouded in mystery. The rain's cadence intensified, weaving a hypnotic spell around me. The figure in the photo appeared to sharpen, as if yearning to impart a long-held secret, a message encoded within the frozen frame. Turning the photograph, faint markings in the corner materialized, barely perceptible under the lamp's gentle radiance. Straining to decipher the ethereal script, a phrase materialized, "She always sees." Returning the photo to its rightful place in the album, a magnetic pull urged me to linger on the captivating image, hinting at concealed narratives awaiting discovery within the walls of this ancient abode. As night cloaked the house in a tender hush, I sank into the plush armchair by the window, the album resting on my lap. Lost in contemplation, questions swirled in my mind. Who was she truly? What secrets had she witnessed? And most hauntingly, did her gaze still linger upon the present? Deciding to leave the album open on the table, I bid the enigmatic figure a silent good night, her presence lingering in my thoughts. Casting a final glance from the threshold, a flicker of uncertainty danced in the lamp's glow, playing tricks on my perception. Was it a mere trick of light, or a profound enigma destined to dwell within the veiled recesses of a cherished familial keepsake? Story 47. The gentle night breeze whispered through the air, carrying with it the earthy scent of rain-soaked soil and fragrant night blooms. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I tuned into the rhythmic breath of the aging house enveloping me. The wooden beams emitted soft creaks, as if harboring ancient tales within their very fibers. In the hush of that moment, a peculiar sound reached my ears, a steady, measured thumping emanating from the upper corridor. It resembled the knock of a door swung by the wind, yet its consistency was oddly soothing, almost trance-like. The warm glow of the reading lamp cast flickering shadows on the wallpaper, conjuring silhouettes that seemed to dance independently. Setting aside my book, I remained motionless, fixating on that persistent beat. It was not a nuisance. Rather, it held a melodic quality in its unchanging pattern. Rising unhurriedly, my slippers sinking into the plush Persian carpet, I gravitated towards the staircase. Each step on the ancient wooden treads elicited a faint groan, as if the house itself was acknowledging my inquisitiveness. The rhythmic thump persisted, guiding me through the dimly illuminated hallway where moonbeams filtered through tall windows. Upstairs, the air carried a chill and a faint fragrance of aged timber and beeswax. Pursuing the sound, I reached the weathered library door. Shut tight as always, yet the brass knocker continued its rhythmic dance against the sturdy wood. No breeze stirred. All windows in the corridor remained shut. Mesmerized, I watched the weighty knocker move of its own accord, as if an unseen force was employing it to knock with infinite patience. Approaching cautiously, almost entranced by the steady motion, the sound grew clearer, revealing a subtle variation in its rhythm, akin to an enigmatic musical composition beyond my grasp. Reaching for the cool brass handle, I sensed the chill of the metal beneath my fingertips, smoothed by centuries of handling. The door was unlocked, yet it resisted my efforts to push it ajar. Unobstructed, yet it felt as though something on the other side gently withheld it. The knocker persisted in its motion, indifferent to my presence, executing an ancient ritualistic performance. Seating myself on the floor, back against the adjacent wall, I surrendered to the hypnotic thumping. Time blurred as I basked in the tale woven by that persistent sound. Gradually, my eyelids drooped, drifting through misty visions of age-old libraries and forsaken tomes. The beat melded with my breath, with my heartbeat, harmonizing with the natural cadence of the night. Awakening to the soft blush of dawn painting the hallway in pale hues, the knocker lay still, silent as though frozen in time. Rising slowly, my limbs tingling from the hours spent on the floor, this time, the door yielded effortlessly to my touch. The library stood unchanged from the day prior, every volume in its appointed spot, dust undisturbed in the morning light. Yet, upon the antique desk, bathed in the first rays of sunlight, lay an open book I had no recollection of placing there. Its pages gleamed pristine white, as if anticipating a tale yet untold. Since that night, the brass knocker remained dormant, yet sometimes on the stillest evenings, a faint echo of that rhythmic pulse lingers in the air, as if the house endeavored to recall a forgotten melody. Story 48. The autumn mist wrapped the park in a gentle embrace, as if nature itself was whispering a lullaby to the world. Leaves pirouetted gracefully in the moist evening breeze, creating a symphony of rustling whispers. Along the gravel path, I strolled leisurely, inhaling the earthy fragrance of rain-kissed soil, my footsteps a soft percussion in the tranquil symphony of the night. The dim street lamps cast ethereal halos in the fog, casting a dreamlike glow upon the path ahead. And there, like a forgotten treasure waiting to be discovered, lay a dark coat, neatly folded on a weathered wooden bench. The park was deserted, and the coat seemed to exude an air of mystery, as if it had been placed there with deliberate intent. Approaching with cautious curiosity, I admired the elegant garment. Its woolen fabric absorbed the dampness of the air, still warm to the touch, as if just shed by its unknown owner. A shiver of intrigue tingled down my spine, not of fear but of fascination. Searching the pockets, I found only a solitary bus ticket from the year 1985, its yellowed edges hinting at a journey long past. Seated beside the coat, I pondered its enigmatic presence, enveloped by the thickening mist. A delicate scent of lavender and pipe tobacco wafted from the fabric, weaving a tapestry of nostalgia and forgotten memories. Within, initials JM embroidered in faded gold caught my eye, like a whisper from a bygone era. A haunting melody drifted through the air, a ghostly echo of music from a distant time. Was it a figment of my imagination, or a spectral serenade from the park's hidden past? Rising to investigate, the coat seemed to have shifted ever so slightly, a subtle alteration that sent a ripple of uncertainty through me. The park's silence was broken by the haunting strains of the waltz, a phantom dance of sound that surrounded me, elusive yet all-encompassing. Shadows swayed in the flickering lamplight, casting a spell of enchantment over the scene. Time itself seemed to bend and twist, as if caught in a mesmerizing reverie. Lost in contemplation, a gentle touch brushed my shoulder, a whisper of a caress from the unseen. Startled, I turned, but there was only the swirling mist, a silent witness to the mysteries unfolding. The coat appeared aged, as if bearing the weight of years in an instant, its fabric weathered by an invisible hand. Respecting the enigma before me, I left the coat undisturbed, a silent guardian of secrets untold. As I departed, the music swelled briefly, a poignant melody that tugged at the edges of memory. And in that fleeting moment, I glimpsed a phantom figure, an elegant specter fading into the mist, leaving only a trace of ephemeral grace in its wake. Returning the following day, the bench stood empty, a blank canvas of dew-kissed wood. Yet, imprinted upon its surface was the ghostly outline of where the coat had rested, a lingering echo of its presence. Beside it lay a new bus ticket, bearing the date of the present day, a silent invitation to unravel the mysteries of the past. Even now, on fog-laden evenings, the park whispers its secrets to those who listen. The distant melody lingers in the air, a haunting refrain that dances on the edge of perception. The scent of lavender and tobacco drifts through the mist, a wistful reminder of a time long gone. And sometimes, as the streetlights play with the shadows, a phantom silhouette moves among the trees, a fleeting glimpse of a spectral wanderer lost in time. But when I try to focus on the apparition, it dissolves like smoke, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the echo of a forgotten waltz in its wake. Story 49. Time appeared to freeze on that autumn evening, while the gentle rain whispered on the rooftop of the ancestral home. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the subtle glow emanating from the antique floor lamp bequeathed to me by my grandfather. This lamp held a special allure, adorned with a stained glass lampshade that wove playful patterns of light across the room. Yet, on this particular evening, a peculiar shadow cast by the lamp seized my attention in a manner I had never encountered before. The dancing shapes on the walls seemed to possess a life of their own, swirling in intricate designs that defied logic. Initially dismissing it as a trick of exhaustion playing with the light, I soon realized that these shadows moved with a mysterious cadence of their own. When a gentle breeze nudged the lampshade, the shadows did not sway in unison, but followed a clandestine rhythm that beckoned further exploration. Intrigued, I rose from my seat and drew closer to the lamp, captivated by the warmth exuding from the colored glass, pulsing as if guarding a hidden secret within its geometric patterns. Tracing my fingers delicately over the lampshade's surface, I discovered a faint symbol etched into the metal base, glowing softly in the ambient light. As the shadows continued their silent ballet, distinct forms emerged before me. Graceful human figures, swaying trees, and elusive entities that appeared and vanished like wisps of memory. It felt as though the lamp was not casting mere shadows, but projecting vivid recollections, narrating tales of a bygone era through the silent dialect of light and darkness. Seated on the floor, I became entranced by this surreal spectacle. The shadows seemed to respond to my presence, drawing closer as I leaned in and receding when I withdrew. At times, a distant melody, a musical whisper, accompanied their mysterious dance, enveloping me in a tranquil embrace of contemplative awe. As the night unfolded, the projected figures grew more intricate, blending everyday scenes with fantastical moments. A child at play transformed into a soaring bird, a seamstress morphed into a dancing butterfly. The lamp appeared to communicate through a language of illumination and shadow, weaving stories that straddled the realms of reality and reverie. Then, a revelation struck me. Amidst the shifting shadows were glimpses of my own childhood, forgotten moments brought vividly to life on the chamber walls. I witnessed myself as a youth, frolicking in the backyard of this very house, my grandfather unveiling the lamp's magic for the first time, and a flood of memories resurfacing from the recesses of my mind. Outside, the rain continued its gentle serenade, harmonizing with the shadowy performance within. Time became a fluid concept, and I drifted into a state of tranquil reverie. Gradually, the figures slowed their dance, their movements becoming languid, yet no less captivating. The lamp seemed to whisper the final verses of a nocturnal tale, preparing to resume its role as a mundane furnishing. As I rose from the floor, the rain had ceased, enveloping the room in a soothing hush, the shadows reverting to mere projections of the lamp. However, a subtle shift had occurred. Gazing at the cherished family heirloom, I realized it would forever hold a new significance for me. How many more stories lay dormant within this lamp, awaiting quiet nights to unfurl their tapestries of memory and dream? Drifting onto the couch, I surrendered to the gentle embrace of the lamp's soft light, inviting slumber to claim me. In my dwindling wakefulness, a final shadow danced delicately on the wall, the silhouette of my grandfather, his smile a silent assurance that some enigmas are best appreciated without unraveling. Story 50. The soft whisper of paper sliding through my fingertips filled the attic with a gentle melody, harmonizing with the tranquil silence that enveloped the space. A warm glow from the setting sun filtered through a dusty window, painting the room in hues of gold that swirled in the stillness. Amidst the collection of ancient family documents, my eyes landed on a weathered envelope, its yellowed paper sealed with faint red wax. Delicately inscribed on its surface was my name in a script unfamiliar to me. Nestled on a creaking wooden chair, I inhaled the fragrance of old books and aged wood, mingling with the subtle rustling of leaves outside, stirred by a light breeze. As I held the envelope, a weighty anticipation settled in my palms, hinting at secrets beyond mere words. With a careful touch, I broke the seal, the crackling of wax echoing in the hush of the room. Inside, thin pages veiled in elegant handwriting awaited me, their date marking a day half a century past, long before my time. The opening lines seized my attention instantly. My dear future grandchild. The room dimmed gradually, yet I made no move to brighten it with a lamp, for the words on the pages seemed to emit a soft, ethereal glow of their own. The letter unfolded a tale of a woman, my grandmother, a stranger to me in life. She spoke of a unique gift passed down through generations, a gift that surfaced rarely and under specific cosmic alignments. On moonlit nights with winds from the north, certain members of our lineage could glimpse beyond the veil of time, though faintly, through sensations and blurred imagery akin to reflections on rippling water. My grandmother detailed how she had foreseen my presence, my existence in that very attic, reading her words. A chill traced my spine as I delved deeper into her narrative. Her writing grew more intimate, revealing her attempts to harness this gift for the family's protection, to navigate them through trials and tribulations. Yet with each glimpse into the future came a toll, a depletion of her vitality. In the attic's suspended time, shadows danced on the walls, entwined with memories etched on the yellowed pages. The letter unfurled prophecies of my own life, some realized, others awaiting their turn in the grand play of destiny. With each passing line, the handwriting subtly shifted, faltering as if each word demanded greater effort. The final page, a mosaic of wavering strokes, beckoned my gaze. My grandmother spoke of a pivotal choice looming ahead, a juncture where the gift would stir within me as well. Lifting my eyes to the window, darkness had descended, unveiling the full moon peeking through veils of mist. A gust of wind rattled the glass, presaging imminent rain. Returning to the last page, her parting words gleamed freshly inked. When you hear the call, the letter whispered, you will discern the path. The gift isn't a curse, but a mantle of duty. Just as I have for you, you too must craft a letter. A letter never sent, yet destined for its recipient when the stars align. Tenderly refolding the pages, I nestled them back into the envelope. The wind now surged, coaxing the old floorboards to groan in protest. Rising from the chair, drawn to the window, my reflection melded with the moon's glow, casting a fleeting illusion. A specter of an elderly woman, her smile tender, briefly overlapped with mine, vanishing as swiftly as a breath. Yet on the desk where emptiness reigned before, now lay a blank sheet and a pen, a silent invitation. Seating myself once more, the room bathed in moonlit silver, the northern wind whispering secrets. The pen, an extension of my thoughts, touched the paper, commencing a new chapter. My dear future grandchild.